Good evening, everyone. हाँ जी, मेरी क्रिसमस, मेरी क्रिसमस। है पार्टी का ऐलान नहीं किया? अच्छा मैंने नहीं सजवाया। राइट, तो डॉक्यूमेंट्स अपलोड हुए क्या? हाँ, अच्छा अच्छा। Right, so write down tribal grievances. Right, first sub point. Tribals dash two spatial aspects. Tribals dash two spatial aspects. Tribals dash, tribals grievances हैं. Tribals dash two spatial aspects. Dash tribal autonomy. Tribal autonomy. Plus lived in forests. Plus lived in forests. Plus lived in forests. Next line, grievance is equal to, grievance is equal to, grievance is equal to their agrarian order, their agrarian order, their agrarian order slash life, agrarian order slash life was turned upside down. Their agrarian order slash life was turned upside down. By British rule and outsiders. By British rule and outsiders. By British rule and outsiders. In form of dash, in form of dash. First sub point, British laws. First sub point, British laws. British laws. Second sub point, British LR systems. British LR systems. Third sub point, British government officials. British government officials. Next sub point, outsiders in form of zamindars. Outsiders in form of zamindars, comma revenue farmers. Zamindars, comma revenue farmers, comma merchants and moneylenders. Comma merchants and moneylenders. Next point, British businesses. British businesses. British businesses due to railroad construction. British businesses due to railroad construction, comma mining, railroad construction, comma mining, and commercial exploitation of forests, Example, greed for timber. Commercial exploitation of forests. Example, greed for timber. Next, Christian missionaries. For spread of Christianity. Christian missionaries for spread of Christianity. Next independent paragraph point. So we now know that who are the outsiders. Outsiders, they are in the form of the legal systems, the land revenue systems, and certain entities like British witnesses, merchants, moneylenders, revenue farmers, etc., etc. Right? Next independent paragraph point. Primary concern of British was LR extraction. Primary concern of British was LR extraction. Therefore, in many cases, zamindars of plains were made landowners. Zamindars of plains were made landowners of tribal areas. Zamindars of plains were made landowners of tribal areas. Zamindars of plains were made landowners of tribal areas. And then you can draw this structure. So therefore these are the plains, right? And here, this is called the periphery. So here the tribals, they used to live. Tribals, they used to live at the periphery of mainstream society, right? So therefore here there will be zamindars, right? So they will be made owners of these lands as well, right? So this is the periphery and this is the main, right? Periphery here means forests, hills, right? So they used to live on the sidelines or at the margins of the plains people society. Right, so zamindars यहाँ पे होंगे and they have been made the owners of the lands of the tribal areas. Plus forest land was farmed out. Plus forest land was farmed out. Plus forest land was farmed out to revenue farmers. Plus forest land was farmed out to revenue farmers. Forest land was farmed out to revenue farmers. माने कि इजारदार्स. And these are men of money, merchants, moneylenders, revenue farmers. Plus, in some cases, tribal chief was recognized. Plus, in some cases, tribal chief was recognized as landowner. Tribal chief was recognized as landowner. And tribals as tenants. And tribals as tenants. And tribals as tenants. And in some cases, tribals as landowners. And in some cases, tribals as landowners. In some cases, tribals as landowners. माने कि द्वैतवादी हो गया यहाँ पे. Tribals as landowners. Full stop. Next point. Now there was indebtedness. Now there was indebtedness to money lenders. Now there was indebtedness to money lenders. INDEBT. Indebtedness to money lenders. Due to new LR systems. Due to new LR systems of British. Due to new LR systems of British. Plus oppression on account of high LR. Oppression on account of high LR. Next point. Tribals lost lands to outsiders. Tribals lost lands to outsiders. Tribals lost lands to outsiders. Outsiders कौन है वो तो पता ही है. ये जितने जमींदार हैं रेवेन्यू फार्म सारे ऊपर लिखे हुए. राइट. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट. Autonomy of tribal chiefs. Autonomy of tribal chiefs. Autonomy of tribal chiefs and tribals. Autonomy of tribal chiefs and tribals was heard. Autonomy of tribal chiefs and tribals was heard. क्यों हर्ट होगी? बिकॉज ऑफ एप्लीकेशन ऑफ ब्रिटिश लॉ, सीआरपीसी। अब ये लोग अपना अप्लाई करेंगे ना, सीआरपीसी से पहले कुछ और अप्लाई करेंगे, ठीक है, जब हम प्री 1857 में है, बिकॉज सीआरपीसी, सीपीसी, आईपीसी दे कम आफ्टर 1857। सो देयरफॉर बिकॉज द ब्रिटिशर्स दे वांट टू अप्लाई देयर ओन लॉ, राइट, चाहे वो फॉरेस्ट लॉ हो, चाहे वो हंटिंग गैदरिंग को बैन करना हो, चाहे वो झूम कल्टीवेशन को बैन करना हो, चाहे अदरवाइज। सो ट्राइबल चीफ अभी तक राजा था, ही वॉज द रूलर ऑफ दैट पर्टिकुलर ट्राइब, एंड नाउ ही इज नॉट, he has to be subjugated to the British authority. So therefore tribal autonomy is getting hurt because of application of the British law, right? So write down, autonomy of tribal chiefs and tribals was hurt because of application of British law, because of application of British law, because of application of British law in civil and criminal matters, in civil and criminal matters. Application of British law in civil and criminal matters. Plus British law banned, plus British law banned jhum cultivation, plus British law banned jhum cultivation, JHUM, jhum cultivation, jhum cultivation, slash podu, PODU, slash and burn cultivation, SLASH, slash and burn cultivation, slash shifting cultivation, slash and burn cultivation or shifting cultivation. These are the different names of the jhum cultivation, right? Shifting cultivation. And banned hunting, and banned hunting, and banned hunting. Because British wanted settled peasant communities. Because British wanted settled peasant communities. Because British wanted settled peasant communities. For ease of LR collection. Settled peasant communities for ease of LR collection. Settled peasant communities for ease of LR collection. And to maximize LR. And to maximize LR. And to maximize LR. Next point. There was loss of home for tribals. There was loss of home for tribals. There was loss of home for tribals. Because of, there was loss of home for tribals because of, first point, loss of home money. Here we are talking about simple land acquisition or Britishers not allowing the tribals into the reserve forests. So as soon as the British law says that these are reserve forests and tribals, they are not allowed to be here, right? Second category is protected forests, that here tribals can be present and they can use the forest produce but only for personal consumption, not for sale. Mane ki you can cut timber, you can gather forest wood, you can gather other kind of produce, but only for personal consumption, but not for sale. Not for any kind of barter trade. So therefore reserve forest, protected forest, and third were open forests which are open to everyone. So wherever there is reserve forest, there is loss of home. Wherever there is protected forest, there is not loss of home, but there is loss of rights in your home. Right? This kind of scenario. Plus wherever there will be land acquisition because of mining, because of railroad construction. So therefore the Britishers, they will say that now this land, this forest land is not yours because it has to be acquired for purposes of mining or for purposes of railroad construction. So therefore can we say there is loss of home? So this sense of our home being invaded by the outsiders, right, it is there, right? So write down, because of, first point, British forest laws categorized forests, British forest laws categorized forests, British forest laws categorized forests into reserved, where no access to tribals, into reserved, where no access to tribals, comma, protected, where tribals can use forest produce, where tribals protected dash where tribals can use forest produce but only for personal consumption, where tribals can use forest produce but only for personal consumption and not for sale, only for personal consumption and not for sale, and uncategorized, which were open to all, and uncategorized, which were open to all, which were open to all. Second subpoint, which were open to all. Second subpoint, loss of home due to land acquisition, loss of home due to land acquisition, loss of home due to land acquisition, on account of land acquisition, on account of railroad projects, land acquisition on account of railroad projects, comma mining projects, and for exploiting forest produce, and for exploiting forest produce, and for exploiting forest produce, example timber, and for exploiting forest produce, example timber. Plus tribals were made to do forced labor, plus tribals were made to do forced labor on these projects, plus tribals were made to do forced labor on these projects, on these projects, on these projects. नेक्स्ट इंडिपेंडेंट पैराग्राफ पॉइंट, एक ही लाइन है, उसी पेज पे लिख लो, हो जाएगा. क्रिश्चियन मिशनरीज पोस्ट 1813, क्रिश्चियन मिशनरीज पोस्ट 1813 led to religious interference. Christian missionaries post 1813 led to religious interference. Led to religious interference. Right? So therefore, this is what it is. ठीक, तो ये हो गए ट्राइबल्स के ग्रीवेंसेस. राइट, अब देयर इज अ कैटेगरी ऑफ पेजेंट रिवोल्ट्स. टू काइंड ऑफ पेजेंट रिवोल्ट्स आर देयर, वन विच आर सिंपली कॉल्ड पेजेंट रिवोल्ट्स and second which are called civil uprisings. What is the difference? The difference is only that in the case of peasant revolts, the leaders are also peasants and the ground force is also peasants. But in the case of civil uprising, the leadership, it is of the elites. For example, we mentioned 1857 revolt is equal to Sepoy mutiny plus civil rebellion. वहां पे जो सिविल रिबेलियन था उसमें आप देखेंगे leadership was provided by the ex raja or by a disgruntled zamindar. Right? So that means the leadership, it is not of the peasant, leadership of the rural elite is there, but the ground floor it is of peasant. Right? So tribal revolts again be categorized, your peasant revolts, they can be categorized into two parts, simply peasant revolts where leadership it is also by the peasant, and civil uprisings where the leadership it is by the elites. Right? So next independent paragraph per random. Peasant revolts is equal to civil uprisings is equal to civil uprisings where leadership was provided by elites, example elites, example rajas, example rajas, comma nobility, rajas, comma nobility, comma zamindars, etc. Semicolon plus revolts that were led by peasants themselves. 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 right? Okay, revolts that were led by peasants themselves. Write down next paragraph point. INM leaders called pre-1857 revolts. INM leaders called pre-1857 revolts as prehistory. INM leaders called pre-1857 revolts as prehistory of modern nationalism. As prehistory of modern nationalism. Full stop. Western educated sections, Western educated middle class, Western educated middle class, Western educated middle class supported, Western educated middle class supported and benefited from British rule. Supported and benefited from British rule. While peasants and tribals defied British rule, peasants and tribals defied British rule violently. Defied British rule violently. Defied British rule violently. Defied British rule violently. Right? So this is the difference. Usually some people may think that the poor person who is an uneducated person, right? So he does not know anything, right? So but yes, the rich classes, they were being benefiting by the British rule. Kaise? For example, they are benefiting with the jobs created by the British rule, right? The permanent settlement, for example, it is benefiting the big landowners. That is zamindars, they are becoming even bigger, landowners, right? So with the help of the Western education, people are becoming lawyers, people are becoming doctors. So therefore, people who were from the middle class, they were benefiting from the British rule and they supported the British rule. They believed that the British rule will modernize India, right? So therefore, the first response which was given from the Indian side to the Britishers was by these poor tribals and peasants. They are the ones who are the first responders, they are the ones who are the first opposers, not people like you and me who are from the educated sections. Right? So therefore, the पहला response जो masses का था, it was negative. Classes का जो response था, वो positive था, but masses का जो response है, वो negative है. People like you and me, they will take more time. They will take multiple decades to finally realize that the British rule is negative for India. And then you will start the modern INM. But वो गरीब इंसान तो पहले दिन से ही कर रहा था. Proof is pre-1857 vote. Which is why these Western educated sections, they say कि yes, modern nationalism was absent in 1857 revolt. And therefore, similarly, modern nationalism was absent in pre-1857 revolt. Right? That is, modern nationalism, हमने discuss किया था when we discussed the 1857 revolt, that is feeling that all Indians are one. And feeling for that nation is supreme. In politics, it would mean democracy. In economics, it would mean capitalism. Right? In society, it would mean equality. This kind of scenario. Right? So yes, modern nationalism was absent in 1857 revolt, it was absent in pre-1857 revolt. Right? However, sense of anti-British feeling or anti-colonial feeling, it is there. And therefore, it is the pre-history. एक तो होता है history. History में हम कह सकते हैं भाई foundation. Imagine something even before the foundation, मतलब something which is just tiny beginning of anti-British thing, right? So they link it कि ठीक है, modern nationalism will give proper voice in a modern way to the anti-British sentiments, but these tribal revolts, इनको आप ये मत समझिए कि बस random है, बेवकूफी है, नहीं. हमने इन्हीं को तराशा. ये जो ट्राइबल रिवोल्ट्स के दौरान जो ग्रीवेंसेस थे, जो पेजेंट रिवोल्ट्स के दौरान जो ग्रीवेंसेस थे, हमने इन्हीं को तराशा. वी improved upon this only. We started writing better answers in UPSC, right? But the feeling, right, that जब हम अच्छे से आंसर नहीं लिख पाते थे, that the basic understanding is the same, उसी को ही improve किया. मतलब something like this, you see, pre-history, right? That means the first anti-British sentiment which is coming, it is coming through these peasant revolts and tribal uprising. They are the first ones to understand and also directly feel the negative economic and political impacts of British rule. ठीक, तो दे आर दी फर्स्ट वंस टू रिस्पॉन्ड. तो ये प्री हिस्ट्री ऑफ मॉडर्न आईएनएम. मॉडर्न आईएनएम विल स्टार्ट पोस्ट 1857 एंड इसको बोला गया प्री हिस्ट्री. दैट मीन्स जो सेंटिमेंट्स थे वो सेम थे. हाँ, उसको एक इंटेलेक्चुअल रूप देना, उसको एक इंटेलेक्चुअल थीम देना, उसको मॉडर्न पॉलिटिक्स की टर्म्स में करना, एक पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज बनाना, प्रोटेस्ट करना रादर देन रैंडमली बिकमिंग वायलेंट, गिविंग स्पीचेस, डूइंग काउंसिल वर्क, राइटिंग पिटिशंस, लेटर्स, ये सब अंग्रेजी टाइप का काम, इंटेलिजेंट टाइप का काम वाज डन लेटर बाय अस. बट जो रॉ सेंटिमेंट था, एंटी ब्रिटिश सेंटिमेंट, इट इज एविडेंट है. राइट, तो शुरुआत किसने करी? हु वाज द बिगिनर? बिगिनर वाज दिस. सो प्री हिस्ट्री. राइट, तो दैट इज व्हाई दे आर सेइंग दैट इट वाज प्री हिस्ट्री, बिकॉज दे वर द फर्स्ट वन टू रिस्पॉन्ड नेगेटिवली टू द ब्रिटिशर्स. सबसे पहली बार अपोज किसने किया? पेजेंट्स ने किया. राइट, तो मिडिल ओवरऑल हमारी थीम क्या है? Raw response was given by the masses. Masses meaning peasants and tribals. That raw response was given even before 1857. That raw response was given in 1857. Right? But what did the middle class give? Middle class gave leadership. Middle class channelized that raw energy into modern nationalism, into party politics, into Gandhian politics, into कि instead of using guns, we should do dharnas, we should start a fast, we should do some kind of, we should fight court cases, or we should write articles in the newspapers. ये सब जो काम है ये किया मिडिल क्लास ने. तो मिडिल क्लास इज ओनली कन्वर्टिंग दैट रॉ एनर्जी इनटू अ प्रॉपर ऑर्गेनाइज्ड थिंग. राइट, दिस काइंड ऑफ सिनेरियो. राइट, तो बड़ी अच्छी रोटी बनानी आती है, आती है, ठीक, बड़ी अच्छी सब्जी बनानी आती है, ठीक, रॉ है अभी सब कुछ. ये आएगा मिडिल क्लास, ये तुम्हारा रेस्टोरेंट खुलवा देगा. See, that is what is happening actually, na? So modern, he will bring modern economics. You will be listed on Zomato now. ठीक है, you will be, not just making food for your friends for free. वो तो फ्री में खा के, टाइप के लोग तो फ्री में खा के चले जाते हैं. ठीक है, now something more. Your efforts are पहले तो रैंडम है, स्पोरेडिक है. नाउ योर एफर्ट्स विल बी मोर डायरेक्टेड, मोर प्रॉपर्ली ओरिएंटेड. जोमैटो पे लिस्टेड हो, स्विगी पे लिस्टेड हो, ठीक है, एटसेट्रा एटसेट्रा. ठीक है, तुम्हारे फोटो के साथ कहते हैं बड़ा बड़ा ओल्ड जिन में लिखा हुआ टिफिन सर्विस. ठीक, ऐसा मतलब मोर ऑर्गेनाइज्ड, उस प्रकार से. ठीक है ना, साउथ इंडिया से ऑर्डर आते हैं तुम्हारे, ठीक है, उसमें फिर तुम मतलब बिल्कुल ऐसे फेडेक्स यूज कर रहे हो तुम, है ना, ऐसा मतलब मोर ऑर्गेनाइज्ड. तो वो काम मिडिल क्लास ने किया. I'm just trying to give a very random kind of analogy to understand कि भी मिडिल क्लास ने क्या किया. मिडिल क्लास ने ये किया, चीजों को ऑर्गेनाइज किया. Right, so that is what is happening. So now write down next independent paragraph point. Civil uprisings and underline it. Civil uprisings, underline it. Civil uprisings, underline it. First subpoint. Raja Chet Singh of Banaras. Raja Chet Singh of Banaras. Raja Chet Singh of Banaras revolted. Raja Chet Singh of Banaras revolted. Raja Chet Singh of Banaras revolted because removed due to non-payment of revenue. Because removed due to non-payment of revenue. Removed due to non-payment of revenue. In brackets 1778-81. 1778-81. 1778-81. He was zamindar, right? So he was removed from the zamindari. He was removed from his lands. Second subpoint. Deposed Nawab Wazir Ali. Deposed Nawab Wazir Ali. Deposed Nawab Wazir Ali. In brackets 1797-98. 1797-98. In Awadh. Revolted in 1799. In Awadh. Revolted in 1799. With peasant support. Revolted in 1799 with peasant support. So, यहां पे ग्रीवेंस क्या हुआ? That he is deposed. So double underline the word deposed. Double underline the word deposed. And can you see that even in the 1857 revolt, many of these rich people, big people, they are providing leadership because they were ex-rajas, right? Because of annexation of Dalhousie. So same things you see. तो वही सेम पैटर्न हमको दिख रहा है प्री 1857 जो मैं 1857 में दिखा, that these people are providing leadership when they are not rajas anymore or when they are losing their personal status. For example, Raja Chet Singh and now नवाब वजीर अली. नवाब वजीर अली वही था जिनके जो चचा जान को मानेंगे सादत अली खान टू को, ठीक है, he was made नवाब of अवध when he promised that I'll pay 76 lakh rupees annual subsidy. उसके बाद फिर grievances हुए and in 1801 your half of earth was annexed and formal subsidy alliance was signed. Right? तो हम पहले पढ़ चुके हैं, नहीं याद तो मैं कुछ नहीं कर सकता. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, बुंदेला चीफ्स ऑफ बुंदेलखंड. बुंदेला चीफ्स ऑफ बुंदेलखंड हम पहले क्या पढ़ चुके हैं? हम पहले ये पढ़ चुके हैं that there was a person called वजीर अली who was removed by the Britishers and his uncle Sadat Ali Khan too was made Nawab of Awadh in return for he accepting to pay 76 lakh rupees as subsidy. हमने क्या नहीं पढ़ा था? That what was the reaction by this removed Nawab Wazir Ali? His reaction is here. That is, peasants, they had grievances of land revenue and other things. So therefore, he provided leadership, peasants supported, and he is rising in revolt. Obviously, he is being crushed. Right? Next, Bundela chiefs of Bundelkhand. Bundela chiefs of Bundelkhand. Revolted with peasant support. Revolted with peasant support. Due to interference by British resident. Due to interference by British resident. Post SA signed, post SA subsidy alliance signed after Second Anglo-Maratha War 1803-05. Post SA signed after Second Anglo-Maratha War 1803-05. In brackets डाला आगे, tributaries of Marathas signed SA. Tributaries of Marathas signed SA. After war. Tributaries of Marathas signed SA after war, brackets closed. So when we discussed the Second Anglo-Maratha War, there we had mentioned that tributaries of Marathas, that is those who used to pay tributes to the Marathas as a superior power, Jats, Rajputs, Bundelas, Rohillas, they now signed subsidy alliance with the Britishers. In subsidy alliance, we know that there is a policy of IR, policy of indirect rule is there, plus policy of ring fence it is there, plus military and foreign policy. They are under the control of the Britishers. So as part of the policy of indirect rule, the British resident will break the promise of non-interference in the domestic affairs, and therefore it will cause grievances. Right? So therefore, this is why Bundelas are rising, because of illegal activity of the British resident of interfering in the internal affairs, which is not legal as per the Treaty of Subsidy Alliance. Next point. Polygars, P-O-L-I-G-A-R-S, polygars revolted from 1799-1805. Polygars revolted from 1799-1805 due to loss of status, due to British rule of law, loss of status due to British rule of law, and Ryotwari in Madras, Notice the years. That's why I said in the last class that Ryotwari was applied even before 1820, from this particular period of 1801 to 1807 also. Right? So therefore this is that particular revolt. And high LR demand. Plus high LR demand. That hurt peasants. That hurt ryots. High LR demand that hurt ryots. high LR demand that hurt yachts. Right? So same pattern is taken. ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा लिखिए. See similarity with Northwest provinces and Awadh. See similarity with Northwest provinces and Awadh at the rate 1857. See similarity with Northwest provinces and Awadh at the rate 1857. At the rate 1857, brackets closed. What is the similarity? कोई आइडेंटिफाई कर पाए क्या सिमिलैरिटी है इसमें? एनीवन प्लीज रेज योर हैंड हु इज बीन एबल टू आइडेंटिफाई. हाँ जी बताइए. हाँ, सिमिलैरिटी इज व्हाट. आप इंटरेस्टिंग चीज देखिए दैट ideally the Rats, they should be happy that they are being made landowners, but still why they are revolting? Because of high LR. And who is providing leadership? The elite sections of the society. जो अवध में तालुकदार है वो साउथ इंडिया में पॉलीगार है. राइट? सो देयरफॉर पॉलीगार क्यों दुखी है? बिकॉज हिज लैंड्स हैव बीन टेकन अवे बिकॉज ऑफ रियोतवारी. एंड रियोत क्यों दुखी है? बिकॉज ऑफ हाई लैंड रेवेन्यू. अवध और नॉर्थ वेस्ट प्रोविंसेस में क्या था? महलवारी. इन मोस्ट ऑफ द केसेस why was the talukdar dukhi? Because loss of lands. Why was the ryot dukhi? Because of summary settlement or improper land survey leading to high land revenue. So see similarity. वहां पे भी जो elite है और जो ground level person है, they are coming together for the same reasons, and here also. So this is how you see that 1857 revolt was nothing but a summation of all the grievances that existed before 1857 also. Just that now they are playing out in a single manner. Right? Next point. Diwan Velu Thampi of Travancore. Diwan Velu Thampi of Travancore revolted with peasant support in 1809. Revolted with peasant support in 1809 due to interference by British resident. Post SA of 1805. Post SA of 1805. Next independent paragraph point. Revolts where peasants took initiative. Underline this line. Revolts where peasants took initiative. तो ये तो हमने civil uprisings कवर कर ली. Now we are coming to revolts where initiative was also of the common man. Revolts where peasants took initiative. In brackets pre-1857 ही जिक्र कर रहे हैं हम सबका भी. Right? In brackets pre-1857. Right? First sub point. Rangpur rebellion. RANGPUR. Rangpur rebellion. 1783. Rangpur rebellion 1783. Dash in North Bengal. Dash in North Bengal against oppression by revenue farmers. Against oppression by revenue farmers. Next point. Mysore 1830-31. Mysore 1830-31 dash. Revolt by peasants against Vodiyar dynasty. Revolts by peasants against Vodiyar dynasty. Against Vodiyar dynasty and British agents. Dash due to high LR dash due to high LR. Next point. Religion played important role in following peasant revolts. Religion played important role in following peasant revolts. Religion played important role in following peasant revolts. First up point. Sannyasi and Fakir rebellion. Sannyasi and Fakir rebellion. Sannyasi and Fakir rebellion. Dash in Bengal and Bihar. Dash in Bengal and Bihar. From 1760 till 1850s. Dash with peak in 1800. With peak in 1800. Where 50,000 members. With peak in 1800 where 50,000 members fought against British. 50,000 members fought against British. Dash reason is equal to high rents. Reason is equal to high rents plus end of rent-free tenures. High rents plus end of rent-free tenures plus domination of domestic trade of Bengal. By EIC agents. Domination of domestic trade of Bengal by EIC agents. Next, Pagalpanthis. Revolt. Pagalpanthis revolt in East Bengal. Pagalpanthis revolt in East Bengal. Dash 1823-33. 1823-33. 1823-33. Dash due to high rents छोड़ो, सिंपली लिखो, due to operation by zamindars. Under PS 1793. Due to operation by zamindars under PS 1793. Next, Titu Mir. पागलपंथी से अलग है. Titu Mir dash in 24 Parganas. Titu Mir dash in 24 Parganas. Dash 1831. Dash reason is equal to operation by zamindars. Reason is equal to operation by zamindars and indigo planters. Operation by zamindars and indigo planters. Next, Faraisi movement. In brackets 1830s. Faraisi movement in brackets 1830s. Dash in Bengal. 1830s dash in Bengal. dash in Bengal by Dudumia by Dudumia by Dudumia dash reason is equal to operation by indigo planters, operation by zamindars, indigo planters and British officials. Operation by zamindars and indigo planters. बस इतना लिख दो, ब्रिटिश ऑफिशियल तो रहेंगे हमेशा. Operation by zamindars and indigo planters. Next, Mapilla revolt. Mapilla slash Mopla. Mapilla slash Mopla revolt. Mapilla slash Mopla revolt in Malabar. Mapilla slash Mopla revolt in Malabar. In brackets 1840s. In brackets 1840s. Dash by Moplas. By Moplas. That is Muslim Riyat. By Muslim Riyat. Dash against operation by big Hindu landlords. Operation by big landlords. Operation by big landlords. That is big landlords. That is Janmis. Who were Hindu. That is Janmis who were Hindu. Big landlords, that is Janmis who were Hindus. Janmis who were Hindus. Dash took communal color. Because specific identity of riots and landlords. Because specific identity of riots and landlords. Right? Riots and landlords. Next, write down heading tribal uprisings pre 1857. Tribal uprisings pre 1857. Tribal uprisings pre 1857. Tribal uprisings pre 1857. First, write down coal uprising. 1831-32. Coal uprising 1831-32. In Chota Nagpur and Singhbhum. Chota Nagpur and Singhbhum region of Bihar and Odisha. Singhbhum region of Bihar and Odisha. Dash reason is equal to influx of outsiders slash Suds. Influx of outsiders slash Suds. ये इनको Suds बोलते थे. Influx of outsiders slash Suds. When Raja of Chota Nagpur farmed out lands. When Raja of Chota Nagpur farmed out lands to merchants and moneylenders. Farmed out lands to merchants and moneylenders. Plus autonomy hurt by British authority. Plus autonomy hurt by British authority. Autonomy hurt by British authority. Next, Khasi uprising 1833. Khasi uprising. Khasi uprising 1833. Khasi uprising 1833. Dash reason is equal to Brahmaputra Valley. Brahmaputra Valley dash Sylhet Road. Brahmaputra Valley Sylhet Road. Brahmaputra Valley Sylhet Road. Led to loss of land. Led to loss of lands. Plus influx of outsiders. Plus influx of outsiders. That is British businesses. That is British businesses. And British officials. British businesses and British officials. British businesses and British officials. Dash led by Tirath Singh. Led by Tirath Singh. Led by Tirath. Tirath. Tirath Singh. Led by Tirath Singh. Next, write down Santhal Hool. Santhal Hool. Santhal Hool / rebellion. Hool means rebellion. Santhal Hool / rebellion 1855-56. Santhal Hool / rebellion 1855-56. 1855-56. Dash by Santhals under Sido Murmu. By Santhals under Sido Murmu and Kanhu Murmu. Sido Murmu and Kanhu Murmu. Sido Murmu and Kanhu Murmu. Dash reason is equal to loss of their fatherland. Reason is equal to loss of their fatherland. Loss of their fatherland. That is Rajmahal Hills. Loss of their fatherland in Rajmahal Hills. In Rajmahal Hills. In brackets Jharkhand. In Rajmahal Hills. In brackets Jharkhand. In Rajmahal Hills. In brackets Jharkhand. Two outsiders / DQs. Outsiders / DQs. तो ये आउटसाइडर्स को डीकूज बोलते थे, कोल जो है वो सुड्स बोलते थे. आउटसाइडर्स / डीकूज. आउटसाइडर्स / डीकूज. प्लस ब्रिटिश गेव, नहीं इसी का ही पॉइंट है. ब्रिटिश गेव ट्राइबल लैंड्स to non-Santhal zamidars and moneylenders. To non-Santhal zamidars and moneylenders. Plus railroad construction. Plus railroad construction. Plus railroad construction. Railroad construction. Railroad construction. Dash 50,000 Santhals. 50,000 Santhals died. 50,000 Santhals died fighting. 50,000 Santhals died fighting. 50,000 Santals died fighting. Right? ठीक. अब लिखो कैरेक्टर ऑफ प्री 1857 रिवोल्ट. कैरेक्टर ऑफ प्री 1857 रिवोल्ट्स. कैरेक्टर ऑफ प्री 1857 रिवोल्ट्स. First point, modern nationalism was missing. Modern nationalism was missing. Modern nationalism was missing. As were not all India movements, as were not all India movements, as were not all India movements, comma, no coordination with each other, no coordination with each other, comma, no outside leaders, no outside leaders, comma, lacked proper planning, lacked proper planning, comma, were spontaneous in many cases, were spontaneous in many cases, and goal was not democracy, and goal was not democracy, and goal was not democracy. Right? So इसमें हमने क्या लिखा है पॉइंट? हमने लिखा है मॉडल नेशनलिज्म. सो यू सी द सिमिलैरिटी विद द 1857 रिवोल्ट एंड दीज प्री 1857 रिवोल्ट. मॉडर्न नेशनलिज्म सेम हमने चीजें बोली थी, ये सब फ्रेटर्निटी का पार्ट, ऑल ऑफ दिस इज पार्ट ऑफ फ्रेटर्निटी, कोऑर्डिनेटिंग विद ईच अदर. एक नया पॉइंट है, नो आउटसाइड लीडर्स. राइट? सो देयरफॉर फॉर एग्जांपल इफ यू आर अ संथल, इफ यू आर ऑल संथल्स, right, but there is a great man who is a Kol, who is not Santhal, who belongs to some other tribe, and he leads you, and you accept him as leader, and he is also ready to die for you. Can we say that this is fraternity? Liberty, equality, fraternity of French Revolution, this is fraternity? That you are not from the same tribe, but still there is so much of brotherhood that you are considering a known Santhal as your leader, and a known Santhal is ready to lead you. Right? So therefore that is fraternity. Right? So that is absent. Always it is a local leader. Outside leaders are absent. Outside leaders are honge, so it is good. Right? So for example, if you know, let's say Narendra Modi ji, if he is famous, he is a Gujarati. If he is famous, let's say in Bengal or in South India, so it is pro-modern nationalism. Similarly, Rahul Gandhi ji, for example, if he is a North Indian, he is famous in South India, in Kerala, so therefore that represents modern nationalism. Right? Shashi Tharoor, ठीक है, वो बात करते पता नहीं कहाँ के लगते हैं, बट स्टिल ही इज फेमस एवरीवेयर. राइट? So therefore you see that people are accepting people from different regions as their leader also, and this is a proof of fraternity among the Indians. This is a proof of India as a nation. Right? This kind of scenario it is present. Right? So इसलिए हमने लिखा outside leaders. Right? Next point. However called prehistory of modern nationalism. However they are called, or however called, prehistory of modern nationalism. However called, prehistory of modern nationalism. Prehistory of modern nationalism. Prehistory of modern nationalism. As they were political in nature. As they were political in nature. And had anti-colonial sentiment. And had anti-colonial sentiment. Next point, a political movement has ideology. A political movement has ideology, organization and program, and is public in nature. and is public in nature. A political movement has ideology, organization and program and is public in nature. And is public in nature. Public in nature माने a political movement ऐसा नहीं, you know that there is a political movement going on and no one knows about it. Crimes they are done in hiding. Political movements they are public. Political movements they are public. चोरी छुपे नहीं किया, चोरी छुपे क्राइम किया जाता है. Right? Even if you are using method of violence, right? Even if you are using method of violence, but if you are public, right? If you are public about it, that means कि fine, our method is violence, but this is basically a political movement, right? For example, a freedom struggle can also be based on violence, right? So therefore, this kind of scenario. So crimes they are done in hiding, political movements they are public, they are open, they are transparent, right? So yeah. Next point. Ideology was there. Ideology was there. Ideology was there. Actually, हम यहाँ पे क्या कर रहे हैं? We are simply trying to prove that these people they were not foolish. That these people they were doing some kind of politics. Yes, modern politics is not there. आपकी तरह वो पॉलिटिकल पार्टी नहीं बना रहे हैं, आपकी तरह वो फास्टिंग नहीं कर रहे हैं, आपकी तरह वो आर्टिकल्स नहीं लिख रहे हैं, ठीक है, धरनाज नहीं कर रहे हैं वो, ठीक है. बट that does not mean that they were not doing politics. Politics is about power struggle, right? Politics is about power struggle. अभी power किसके हाथ में? अंग्रेजों के हाथ में है. Right now the power is with whom? Economic power, political power with the Britishers. And therefore they are trying to challenge the Britishers in the domain of power. They are trying to end the British rule. And they are therefore engaged in politics. Politics is also about policies. That they are disagreeing with the British policies of land revenue system. Right? So why they are doing this? They are responding just because they are simply oppressed in certain, or there is some politics it is there. They are engaged in some kind of politics. So we are trying to prove that usually in a politics what happens, some ideology is there. If you today look at any political party, you go to that political party's page, an ideology will be present that we stand for this. Right? Then organization is there. So for example, all the political parties, they have organizations. At the district level also, at the ground level also, and plus in general there will be some leader, some organization it is there. Then program is there, right? For example, when elections take place, party they come out with manifestos. So therefore, what is a manifesto? Manifesto basically ideology को रंग रूप देता है. Manifesto basically gives shape to the ideology. It is basically a plan. It is a program. Plus these political parties, for example, Anna Hazare movement or Bharat Jodo Yatra or something else. You see, there is a program. This is modern politics which is going on. This is modern politics which is going on. Modern politics होती है ऐसे, right? Some dharna, some pradarsan, etc., etc., right? So therefore, this kind of scenario it is there. So ये politics है. So we are trying to identify that whether these elements they were present in the actions by the tribals or they are not. ठीक है या नहीं है? ठीक है. तो उस तरीके से. So write down ideology was there as they wanted to bring back. Ideology was there as they wanted to bring back the moral order. Ideology was there as they wanted to bring back the moral order. They wanted to bring back the moral order. The moral order disturbed by British rule. The moral order disturbed by British rule. Moral order disturbed by British rule. Therefore, anti-colonial ideology was there. Therefore, anti-colonial ideology was there. Anti-colonial माने anti-British. Anti-colonial ideology was there. In 1857 revolt, we have also discussed this moral order. Moral order माने the way of life. The way of life which is there in economics, which is there in politics, which is there in society. And what is considered immoral? कि यार ऐसे थोड़ी होता है. Such high land revenue, घर में घुस गए मेरे, पहले ऐसे कभी नहीं होता था. Such a situation was never there that these outsiders they are coming. What is this? This is wrong. This is wrong economically. This is wrong culturally. This is wrong society-wise. Right? Similarly, peasants, right? They are considering it immoral. That traditionally the religious sects they had some revenue-free tenures, and now the Britishers are saying कि everyone will be paying tax or this kind of scenario. ऐसे थोड़ी होता है, right? Landlessness is coming. Oppression by the moneylenders, these things they were absent. Now they are present in our society. What the hell has happened? What is it? ऐसा नहीं थी गीत के कैसे लोग हैं? Only one song is there. पैसा पैसा करती है. That's it. Only money. They are only concerned about money. They are not respecting our occupancy rights. They have converted this zamindar into this big oppressor, right? What is there, right? So this kind. Similarly, if you see in the civil uprising, so in the civil uprising also, what is the peasant thinking? I have my land revenue related grievance, but देखो Diwan Velu Thampi, right? He's our leader. इसका कोई, he's losing status. So we are with him. ऐसे थोड़ी होता है पॉलिटिक्स में, that those who are traditionally respected among us, they are not having any kind of thing. Polygarchs. Let's say I'm a peasant. You are a polygarch. Right? I have my grievances of high land revenue. I'm ready to fight for you. But another sentiment in me will be, what kind of immoral politics they have brought? They have taken away the powers of the polygarchs. Polygarchs, you have been traditionally so powerful. Right? So what is this? You see, this morality point we had discussed in the 1857 revolt as well. Right? So you see, this is also a common point between the 1857 revolt. The reason in 1857 revolt भी यही था that they wanted to restore the moral order that existed before the British, and the reason here is also the same, right? So वही है. So देखिए second point, well, the next point, political symbolism was there. Political symbolism was there in form of grand marches. Political symbolism was there in form of grand marches. Political symbolism was there in form of grand marches. In form of grand marches. And example, idea of fatherland of Santhals. And example, idea of fatherland slash Daminiko. आइडिया ऑफ फादरलैंड स्लैश दामिनिको, अपने फादरलैंड को दामिनिको कहते थे. आइडिया ऑफ फादरलैंड स्लैश दामिनिको ऑफ संथल्स. दामिनिको ऑफ संथल्स. दामिनिको ऑफ संथल्स. सो इट इज पॉलिटिकल सिंबॉलिज्म. दीज टर्म्स लाइक फादरलैंड, मदरलैंड, ये सब पॉलिटिक्स ही तो है. दिस पॉलिटिकल सिंबॉलिज्म, राइट? पेट्रियोटिज्म का ही तो पार्ट है. Fatherland, motherland. So it is political symbolism that you start calling your country fatherland, motherland. It is political symbolism, right? Next point. Religion-based bonds. Religion-based bonds. Example in form of sects. Religion-based bonds. Example in form of sects. Provided organization and leaders. Provided organization and leaders. Provided organization and leaders. So organization is an important element of modern politics. तो ठीक है, religion वो provide कर रहा है, as we discussed in the last class. Unity, a leader, right? Some kind of, at least some kind of planning was present. This kind of scenario. Another thing is there कि चलो भैया ठीक है. In many of the cases, if you had read the document which had asked to upload, in many of these cases what happens, these tribals and the peasants, they were able to establish their own government temporarily. They were able to establish their own government temporarily in that particular small region, right? And they started, for example, collecting taxes from the people, right? They established their own courts also, right? They also started running the government in that very small area where they revolted. Government is what? Go back to the basic definition. Nation is summation of people who feel one. Country, it is land. And state is nothing but an organization that runs the affairs of the country, that is land, and the people, that is nation. So therefore, fine, इन्होंने कोई political party नहीं बनाई. They did not set up Indian National Congress. They did not set up Bhartiya Janata Party, Samajwadi Party, the way modern politics it is done. They did not set up, Brahmo Sabha or Brahmo Samaj, right? Or Prarthana Samaj. Fine, they are not doing this. But, chalo, पहले वाला मान लेते हैं that before the peasant revolt you are saying that organization it is not present. उसका भी हमने आंसर लिख दिया है that religion is providing some kind of organization. But is it not biggest proof of organization if these people are so organized that at least for their limited region they are able to run their own government? To gather money, to run your own affairs, right? To establish a system of government, जैसा भी छोटा मोटा, it is proof of organization only, भाई. Right? So how can you say that organization was not present? Organization was present. These people are organized. ये कोई पागल नहीं है that randomly they have done, violence and अब किसी को कुछ पता ही नहीं है. Imagine that all of us, we revolted, we removed the district collector, right? And सब कोई ऐसे घूम रहे हैं पागलों की तरह. That is nothing. No thought after this. ये सब क्या पता नहीं क्या है, पत्ते खेल रहे हैं सब लोग. No, that is not the situation. We come together, we choose a leader, we say that this leader is going to be the ruler, we set up some court, right? We are organized. Anarchy नहीं है, organization है, right? So write down. Organization was evident. Organization was evident as in many cases. Organization was evident as in many cases. They set up, as in many cases, they set up their own government. As in many cases, they set up their own government. Comma, collected own taxes. Collected self-imposed taxes. Collected self-imposed taxes. And set up own courts. And set up own courts. And set up own courts. Next point. Program was there. Program was there. Example, large meetings were held and planning was done. Example, large meetings were held and planning was done. Example by Santhals. Program was there. Example, large meetings were held and planning was done. Example by Santhals. Example by Santhals. Example by Santhals. Planning was done. Example by Santhals. Planning was done. Example by Santhals. Next point. Peasants clearly knew. Peasants and tribals. Peasants and tribals clearly knew their oppressors. Peasants and tribals clearly knew their oppressors. Their oppressors and tools of oppression. Peasants and tribals clearly knew their oppressors and tools of oppression and tools of oppression and tools of oppression. Example, they did not attack. Example, they did not attack life of oppressors in many cases. Example, they did not attack life of oppressors in many cases. Life of oppressors in many cases. But their property, but their property, but their property, comma, account books of money lenders. Account books of money lenders. Account books of money lenders. Full stop. Santhals declared. Santhals declared. Santhals declared that traditionally they have hunted game. Santhals declared that traditionally they have hunted animals. ऐसा लिख लो जो simple हो जाए. Traditionally they have hunted animals. Traditionally they have hunted animals. And now they hunt their oppressors. Traditionally they have hunted animals and now they hunt their oppressors. Now they hunt their oppressors. Now they hunt their oppressors. See, this is part of politics. अगर आप सब लोग पागल हो, if you are गंवार, right? If you are, totally animal-like, right? That is no education, nothing. Then you will do random violence. You will do random violence. You will enter into the house, you will act like goons, you will murder people, you will rape people, you will loot them, and it's like random tandav taking place, right? Random anarchy. But look at these tribals. Even after so much of oppression, in many of the cases, what did they do? For example, in the Rangpur rebellion, they knew that how the ijaradar or how the revenue farmer or why he is oppressing us. He is oppressing us because he wants to take away our property, that is our grains. So they did not kill देवी सिंह एंड गोविंदा सिंह, दे ओनली अटैक देयर ग्रेन स्टोर्स, जहां पे सारा अनाज इकट्ठा था, और इन्होंने सिंपली वायलेंस के थ्रू अपना जो है अनाज दे टुक बैक. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, दे अटैक्ड लोकल प्रिजन्स, right? And in those prisons, those peasants who had not been able to pay land revenue to the revenue farmers, Govinda Singh and Devi Singh, they were lodged there. So they broke open the prisons and they took them out. They attacked the local courts. Why? Because जो court का judge होता था, he used to give judgment in favor of the revenue farmers, which is why these peasants, they were put behind bars. Right? So therefore they clearly knew their oppressor. In many of the cases when they attacked money lenders, they did not attack the life of money lenders. They did not kill him. In fact, they asked him, tell us where are the debt bonds or where are the account books where the proof is there that I have taken some loan from you. And they will burn that book so that he is not able to prove that they have taken a loan. So see, these are not random, people. These are not animals who you think that, okay, gaon ke gawar hai. They have some brains. They know their oppressor. They know their tool of oppression also. That ये जो account book है ना, इसको पकड़ के लेके आता है ये, and बोलता है कि देखो मेरे यहाँ नाम लिखे हुए हैं. Right? So therefore this kind of scenario. Right? So Santhals they clearly knew, right, that earlier they used to hunt their game. Animals को game भी बोला जाता है. ठीक है? Earlier they used to hunt animals. Now they hunt their oppressor. वो तो clearly declare कर रहे हैं. So therefore they clearly know that they are oppressed, right? So this notion is there, right? तो उस प्रकार से, right? तो ये है. Next point. अच्छा, ऐसे hunting animals को hunting game क्यों बोला जाता है? Hunting animal because it is a game for the hunter. It is a game for not you the hunter. It is game for the animals, right? For example, if a tiger is hunting, it is a game for him. तो जो आपकी मम्मी कहती है ना, बेटा सामने से कुत्ता आ जाए तो बस ऐसे खड़े हो जाना, भागना मत. डू नॉट रन इफ दी डॉग इज देयर, राइट? और डू नॉट रन, इवन इफ सम टाइगर इज देयर, डोंट रन. सुन लिया करो माँ बाप की बात, ठीक है? ज्यादा शाणे बन के फायदा नहीं है. भगोगे तो गेम बन जाएगा उनके लिए. इफ यू रन, इट इज अ गेम फॉर देम एंड दे लाइक टू चेज. बेटा भाग भाग बसंती. राइट? And then they want to, hunt. Right? So therefore, that is why it is called a game. Right? So therefore, when humans are also hunting, they also call that, we are hunting game. You know why it is there? There is a logic. The logic is simple. That is, if there is an animal who is having some disease, and even when his or her whatever life is threatened, even then it is not running away. That means it has some disease. And therefore, they'll leave it. They'll not eat it. That's the logic. That's why they first want to ensure that जिसको खाने जा रहे हैं वो healthy है क्या? है तो भगो जरा 20 किलोमीटर भगो. It's a run, है ना? हाँ, healthy है, अब खाऊंगा. Right? So therefore that is there. So therefore when you are standing still in front of a tiger, etc. Right? So therefore the person, the tiger thinks that you have some corona or something. Right? So therefore he does not, he thinks that maybe you are unhealthy. This kind of scenario. For example, जैसे बोल रहा था कि काफी मूवीज आपने स्टोरी में पढ़ा होगा कि सामने से भालू आए, सांस लेना बंद कर दो. भाई उसे लगता है तुम मरे हुए हो, सड़े हुए हो, इसलिए तुमको नहीं खाएगा. उसको हेल्दी चाहिए, सांसें चलनी है, भाग रहा है लौंडा. ठीक है? सो दैट राइट. एनीवेज, नेक्स्ट राइट हम. क्राइम्स आर डन सीक्रेटली. Crimes are done secretly. Crimes are done secretly while political actions are public. Crimes are done secretly while political actions are public. And their reward was public. Crimes are done secretly while political actions are public. And their reward was public. And their reward was public. And their reward was public. Example, public meetings were held. Example, public meetings were held. Semicolon. Example, Santhals. Semicolon. Example, Santhals gave prior warning. Example, Santhals gave prior warning. Example, Santhals gave prior warning. Example, Santhals gave prior warning to British in 1855. gave prior warning to British in 1855 before revolting. So therefore these elements they are present, right? These elements they are present in the, so their actions they are public actions, right? Here more details are given, right? So you should take a look at the handout. Look at the handout only for the purposes of, like, just in the case of mains, if you have to elaborate upon just by taking one example. Otherwise for the purpose of prelims just read it, right? Otherwise वही सारी चीजें जो हम already we have discussed, right? So for example this is, right, तो ये सब तो हम कर ही चुके हैं, मतलब this is like normal things which we analysis part that we write down, right? So for example in Awadh, revolt by Raja Chet Singh of Banaras, right, and other zamindars from 1778 to 81, right? He was deposed by the Britishers in 1781 because could not pay higher land revenue demand, right? कुछ additional bracket में स्टार लगा के, just to make you remember that 1765 Treaty of Allahabad subsidy for, ठीक है, तो just random background. उसके बाद deposed नवाब वजीर अली, then बुंदेलखंड, so map में बुंदेलखंड का है वो भी दिखा दिया. 1842 revolt by Bundela Rajput chiefs, so right they disrupted, reason लिखा ही हुआ है, ठीक है, they disrupted agriculture and trade routes for few years. Bundelkhand region part of UP and MP, right? South India polygars, right? So थोड़ा सा और डिटेल दे रखा है जो हम पहले डिस्कस ऑलरेडी कर चुके हैं, that polygars they traditionally considered themselves as sovereign since the time period of Vijayanagar Empire 1336 to 1646, right? When EIC troops arrived, the polygars resisted and local peasants supported, even treated the polygars as folk heroes, right? So context क्या है? So context is basically application of your this thing, जो मतलब ये मैंने आपको लिखवाया है. The Britishers they annexed Malabar post Third Anglo-Mysore War, right? So polygars यहाँ पे हैं. British rule started after the Third Anglo-Mysore War 1789-92, यहाँ पे 1790-92 लिखा हुआ है, it's okay, right? So therefore British rule begins when? It begins after the 1789 onwards, right? So accordingly this particular revolt is taking place, right? Veluthampi वाला, right? Farming system जैसे, right? So Rangpur rebellion of North Bengal, Warren Hastings is the ruler at this particular point of time. Here the new farming system became cause of grievance. Under this system, revenue collection right was auctioned to the revenue farmers or revenue contractors who collected not just the arbitrarily high land revenue but also other illegal cesses like abovs, right? The EIC officials were also hands in glove. Therefore, corruption added to the oppression. माने कि officials they used to support. Villains of Rangpur were Devi Singh and Ganga Govinda Singh, who are the revenue farmers or revenue contractors. Peasants first petitioned to the East India Company, but when no relief came, they organized themselves, raised their own army, and they attacked the local courts. Why? Because the local courts used to give judgment in favor of the revenue farmers, right? यही लोग होते थे जो बोलते थे arrest these peasants who have not paid the high land revenue. They looted the grain stores, right? So they are clearly aware about their tool of oppression. Forcibly release the prisoners. Prisoners are basically the peasants who have not been able to pay land revenue and they are in jail. Even they chose their own leaders, started calling him Nawab and ran their own government, right? Established their own government for some time. Ultimately, all of these revolts are being crushed by the British. Devi Singh now requested Warren Hastings to send troops. That led to British suppression, but also some reforms in farming system. Those reforms are not important. Some reforms. ऐसा करके तो ये details हैं, right? तो इसको पढ़ोगे तो जो आपने लिखा है, it will get more elaborated. That's it, right? मैसूर तो हमने decent इतना ही है जितना लिखा है. So ये those revolts where religion played a role, right? For example, Sannyasi and Fakir rebellions. कहाँ पे? In North Bengal and Bihar from 1763, 1800, 1850s, right? Some background is given that Bihar में क्या क्या चल रहा है. 1757 Battle of Plassey, 1764 Battle of Buxar, Bengal famine 1770. So Bengal की हालत बड़ी खराब है इस टाइम पे, right? Lot of grievances will be there. New system of revenue farming 1772, उससे भी grievance आएगा, ठीक है? तो ऐसा करके. तो anyways, Dasnami sannyasis and Madari fakirs, right? So Madari fakirs they are followers of a Sushti sect, right? They were wandering monks. माने कि they used to, as a community, they used to travel from one place to another, right? This kind of scenario. कहाँ पे? In Bengal and Bihar. The Dasnami sannyasis were also engaged in trading, तो घूमते रहते थे इधर से उधर और कुछ कुछ ट्रेडिंग करते रहते थे. मुझे याद है मतलब बचपन में एट टाइम्स सम आंटीज दे यूज्ड टू कम टू होम, दे वुड बी हैविंग दीज 2 bags, right, and they'll show some clothes, that these clothes are from Kashmir, right, these clothes are from here, there, do you want to buy? So in a way the whole shop is traveling from one home to another home. ठीक है, ऐसा हो सकता है आपके गांव में भी आपने कभी देखा हो. हाँ मतलब हाँ बंजाराज नहीं but they are like selling products. So fine, they are religious people who are earning their livelihood like this kind of scenario, right, were also engaged in trading of silk, cloth, copper, spices, and also had some of them were also landowners, some of them they were also money lenders in their group. Fine. Followers of a religious sect, obviously they can belong to different professions. They were also known for their martial tradition, right, and also known as warrior monks. जो दशनामी सन्यासी हैं, they had a warrior tradition also, माने कि right, martial arts etc. तो warrior monks भी बोला जाता था. ठीक है, मतलब हाँ. Madari fakirs also had armed followers, right, since Mughal days. They also enjoyed rent-free tenures, right? Some of them. Both these groups had good ties because of their similarity in their ideologies. Both of them were impacted by East India Company's high land revenue demand, monopoly of the East India Company in the domestic trade of Bengal, and also end of rent-free tenures which they enjoyed earlier. So ये इनके grievances हैं. Then sannyasis and fakirs became more powerful because of famine of 1770. Why? जब famine आएगा तो भक्ति automatically बढ़ेगी. Because एक ही चीज है भगवान जो आपको बचा सकता है, right? As their membership swelled due to destroyed small landowners and disbanded soldiers also, right? तो मतलब membership बढ़ गया उनका. ठीक, बहुत सारे लोग दुखी हैं, membership बढ़ गया. Most important reason, British wanted a settled peasant community that paid revenue regularly. So therefore, because they are wandering monks, wandering warrior monks, तो ब्रिटिशर्स को ये पसंद नहीं है that this community is there, who is traveling from one place to another, cultivating one piece of land, then cultivating another piece of land, doing some trade, etc. उनको चाहिए settled peasant community हो. Anyways, there were constant clashes from 1760 to 1850s between East India Company and यहाँ पे ये सन्यासीज and fakirs. SF माने सन्यासी fakirs. कहाँ पे? In Bengal and Bihar. So 1800 एक peak आया where there were 50,000 members who were fighting at a particular point of time against the East India Company. However, ठीक है, तो ये अल्टीमेटली तो क्रश होंगे सारे के सारे. Also around the same time, Pagalpanthis of East Bengal did armed insurrection. Pagalpanthis of East Bengal, they were a religious sect, and इनके जो लीडर थे, फादर सन डुओ थे, करीम शाह एंड टीपू शाह, right? The Pagalpanthis, they were Hindu tribals. Grievances क्या थे? High revenue settlement, illegal abwas, माने simply oppression by the zamindars. Villains were British officials and zamindars. They revolted and promised that if you support us, then we'll have low rents, right? And therefore they began their ऐसे Kand uprising, तो ऐसे ही है, ban on human sacrifice, and that was a grievance that the Britishers they banned human sacrifice. Anyways, right? Titu Mir of 24 Parganas in Bengal, तो he was earlier a muscle man, right? ऐसा there is a movie Hum, अगर आपने पहले देखा. Anyways, he was earlier a muscle man, a gunda, right, of the zamindars. ये लोगों को जाके पीटता था, but after that he went to Makkah. Right? When he came back as a changed man, and now he gave up that gundagardi and he started preaching Islam. Right? So और उसने अपना एक sect type से बना लिया. So therefore, Titu Mir's movement is came to be known as his religious movement. His sect came to be known as Tariq-e-Muhammadi. इतना सब कुछ रट्टा मारने की जरूरत नहीं, इसलिए मैंने आपको simple points में लिखवा दिया है. ऐसा डिटेल्स तो बहुत हैं. ठीक है? And this movement was based on Wahhabism. Right? Wahhabisms, they are the preachings of Sufi saint Shah Waliullah of Delhi. Therefore, Titu Mir can be called a Wahhabi. Right? Saudi Arabia में चलता है. इधर एक सूफी सेंट थे, वो भी contribute किए हैं Wahhabism में. Followers were poor peasants and weavers, right? Handicraft sector. Distinct identity was they had a unique dress and a unique beard. And इनके grievances क्या थे? एक तो इनकी tax beard पे tax लगा दिया. There was a tax on beard. कि अगर तुम ऐसा, right? So this kind of scenario it is there. So tax on beard. Right, indigo planters, zamindars, they are oppressors. Action, they are able to end the British rule temporarily. They established their own government, started applying their own taxes. Right, they also established terror in the region. मतलब मस्त वाला एक terror in the region in the sense that मतलब गुंडागर्दी. Right, reaction army had to be called in and it crushed it. Right, तो ऐसा करके. फराइजी मूवमेंट, so इसमें फादर सन डुओ थे, हाजी शरियतुल्लाह एंड दुद्दू मियां. ठीक. And this was a movement like Raja Rammohn Roy's movement. right? So go back to the golden past of Quran. That is any teachings in Islam which are separate from Quran, any texts in Quran which are different from Quran, they are nothing but dilutions, right? So therefore we should follow only Quran. Like they were saying, like Raja Ram Mohan Roy was saying that follow the Vedas. Similarly, for example, your Arya Samaj was saying that only Vedas, they are the true everything, right? So us prakar se hai. So purify Islam. Quran is the only guide, and remove all un-Islamic beliefs from Islam. That is, go back to the golden past. ठीक. यहाँ पे rural Muslim poor है, oppression is by the indigo planters and by landlords. Dudu Mian, he gave a slogan that land belongs to God and therefore tax on land is ungodly. Right? तो ऐसा मतलब एक बड़ा famous सा slogan दिया. उसके बाद ultimately they are able to overthrow the government for some time. They held their own courts, right? Collected own taxes to fund the movement. Violent clashes took place in 1830s and 40s. उसके बाद फिर 1870s में एक next generation आया नया मियाँ क्या, ठीक है, वो हम बाद में डिस्कस करेंगे, ठीक है. तो ऐसा मोपला अपराइजिंग. So therefore this is also there, some details. So there was this ideology of Orientalism. ठीक है, ये बोनस है. बोनस मान कि यूपीएससी में इतना सब काम नहीं आने वाला है, ठीक है, बट ठीक है, ये आपको पढ़ना चाहिए. जो स्पेक्ट्रम पढ़ने का शौक है, ठीक है, तो स्पेक्ट्रम टाइप कुछ कुछ चीजें लिखी हुई हैं, बट फिर भी कुछ ब्रेन्स के साथ, ठीक है. जो ब्रेन्स है वो मैंने आपको लिखवा दिया है, और ये स्पेक्ट्रम टाइप चीजें मैंने भी लिखवाई हैं, कुछ कुछ स्पेक्ट्रम टाइप चीजें, ठीक है. फैक्ट 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 फैक्ट, ठीक है. और बाकी यहाँ पे थोड़ी सी और एलेबोरेशन, ठीक है, बट जो उसका ब्रेन है वो हम पहले ही लिखवा चुके हैं, ठीक है. व्हेन वी डिस्कस द ग्रीवेंसेस विद रिस्पेक्ट टू योर फार्मिंग सिस्टम, विद रिस्पेक्ट टू परमानेंट सेटलमेंट, रियोतवारी, मेलवारी एंड ट्राइबल्स, तो वही ब्रेन वाला पार्ट है. ये तो बस उस फैक्ट्स का प्रूफ है. तो देयर इज वन थिंग कॉल्ड ओरिएंटलिज्म. ओरिएंटलिज्म मींस वी शुड रूल इंडिया द इंडिया वे, right? And we know that Thomas Munro was Orientalist. That's why he applied Ryotwari settlement in Madras, right? Malabar was captured by the Britishers in the Third Anglo-Mysore War of 1789-92. If you remember, in the Third Anglo-Mysore War, they surrounded Mysore from three sides. Also, Malabar is important. या तो 1795 वाला मैप, यहाँ पे पिंक वाला पार्ट Malabar, right? It is also important for trade. Right, so there that Malabar, this is Malabar that we are talking about. So Malabar became part of Madras Presidency in 1792, right? That is after the Third Anglo-Mysore War. And in Malabar, what was in Mysore, what was applied? Orientalism. Orientalism operated differently in Malabar. Why? Because there was a traditional belief that Lord Parshuram gifted all the lands of Malabar to the Hindu Janmis. Right, Hindus, they were called Janmis. They are Brahmin princely families, right? So therefore, what is the India way here? The India way here is that the Ryots should not have the land ownership, but the big princes or big princely families or the big Hindu landlords, right, or these Janmis, they should be made landowners, because that is the ancient way. So rule India the India way. In the rest of the Madras, the India way is that the actual cultivator is the owner of the land and intermediaries are not present. But in Malabar, what is the India way? That we should have, you know, a big landowner in the form of Hindu Janmis. Those who are from Brahmin princely families. Why? Because it is a traditional belief that Lord Parshuram gifted all the lands to the Hindu Brahmin princely families. And that is why here, permanent settlement like system is there in terms of who is the landowner, and the masses, they are tenants. And therefore, like the way in Bengal, in permanent settlement, जिस तरीके से जमींदार oppresses the common man, similarly here, same pattern will be there. Lack of occupancy rights will be there, high rents will be there, right? Illegal abwabs, right? मतलब whatever tributes उस प्रकार से हो सकते हैं. And therefore, this is there. है यहाँ पे मैंने आपको कुछ मालाबार वाले नाम भी बता रखे हैं. So Janmis, they are known, right? Veram Pattakarans. Moplas, they were also called Veram Pattakarans, right? And those agents of the Janmis who used to actually go onto the ground and actually do the collection of rents, they were called Kannakarans. Fine. ये थोड़ा सा extra detail है. It's okay, right? Right. So grievance यही है. And action. So action, it became, because here the oppressor was from one particular religious community and the oppressed was from another religious community. So therefore, it took form of communal rights, right? So communal rights took place against the Hindus, and here the Hindus, they are the landlords. So it became a cocktail of religion and economic grievances, right? So this kind of scenario. Why? Because all the oppressed, they are from one religion, and all the oppressors, they are from one religion. So therefore, it became communal, right? Ultimately, the Britishers, they entered, army entered and crushed the Mopla revolt. Right? उस प्रकार से Moplas they rose again in 1870, then they again rose in 1921. तो ये 2 या 3 बार revolt किए. Right? तो उस प्रकार से. So therefore, this is your peasant revolts. Similarly, in the case of this thing, 5 minute और tribal uprisings. Right? So here, some more examples are given. For example, Bheels of Hills of Khandesh, Ahom revolt, Kolis, Coal uprising, जो important वाले मैंने आपको लिखवाए हैं, Coal uprising, Khasi uprising, Santhal Hool, right? So these are Sidhu Murmu and Kanu Murmu. This is your Rajmahal Hills, right? तो इनको थोड़ा सा हमने decently लिखवा भी दिया है और conclusion तो लिखवा ही दिया है, right? So we'll meet after 10-11 minutes and after that we'll begin with post 1857 peasant revolts and also we will discuss what we call as early Indian national movement, right? So now our proper your Indian national movement is now beginning. हाँ जी, 19 नंबर वाला नहीं हुआ अपलोड, वो करा देंगे, हो गया देख लेंगे. हाँ. Right, so check my so similarly in the post 1857 revolt, write down post 1857 revolt, post 1857 tribal revolts, post 1857 tribal revolts. Post 1857 tribal revolts. So write down Munda Ulugulan slash revolt, Munda Ulugulan slash revolt, 1899-1900, Munda Ulugulan slash revolt, 1899-1900, 1899-1900. First point in Chota Nagpur, led by Birsa Munda. In Chota Nagpur, led by Birsa Munda. Birsa Munda. Next line, reason is equal to loss of lands to outsiders, and missionary activities by Christian missionaries, and missionary activities by Christian missionaries, and missionary activities by Christian missionaries. Write down action is equal to people came to believe in supernatural powers. People came to believe in supernatural powers of Birsa. People came to believe in supernatural powers of Birsa. People came to believe in supernatural powers of Birsa. Therefore, religion in this case gave courage to tribals. Therefore, religion in this case gave courage to tribals to rise against mighty British. 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 What is the meaning of this particular sentence? Usually you would think that the tribals, they are foolish, that they will think that Birsa Munda is having some supernatural powers, that when bullets are fired against him, they turn into water. Or Birsa Munda has some healing powers. But what is the reason? If you think by the rational mind, then we, the tribals, we do not have anything, right, which can give us confidence that we can defeat the British. So how the subconscious mind is playing? We are so oppressed that still we want to convince ourselves that we should rise against the British. So how to convince ourselves? So let us tell ourselves that our leader has some supernatural powers. So don't be afraid of bullets, my friend, they will turn into water because Birsa has supernatural powers. Right? So therefore this is how religion is providing courage. Second option is you can think that they are foolish, that he is having supernatural powers. But the first option is, if you think like this, that they do not have any modern weapons, but still they are so oppressed, they want to oppose the Britishers, still they want to rise against the Britishers, and that is why they convince themselves that Birsa Munda has supernatural powers. And this is how religion is giving. This was the case with Mahatma Gandhi also. Mahatma Gandhi used to call himself Mahatma, or people used to call him Mahatma, right? So therefore it is written in Bipin Chandra that people at the ground level, they used to believe that Mahatma Gandhi, when bullets are fired against Mahatma Gandhi, they turn into water. This is 1920s, 1930s. Why? Because it is not commonsensical. It is not commonsensical that against the mighty British, someone says that with non-violence, I am going to end the British rule. I am going to bring Swaraj with non-violence. So how the villagers, they will be talking to each other. They want to follow Mahatma Gandhi. They are oppressed by the British policy. They want to follow Mahatma Gandhi. But at the same time, they know that Mahatma Gandhi is saying that non-violence, that they should also stay non-violent. And he will also stay non-violent while the Britishers they are oppressing. So how to convince oneself? So they say, Arey, Mahatma Gandhi is Mahatma. Unka jarorat hi nahi of violence. He does not need violence. Why? He is Mahatma. When the Britishers, they fire bullets, they turn into water. इस वजह से वो कह रहे हैं non-violence. Varna it is counterintuitive. Right? So therefore, this kind of scenario, religion plays this kind of role. Right? Courage. Next point. Religion also provided political narrative. Religion also provided political narrative. Religion also provided political narrative. As Birsa compared British rule, with Kalyug, and similar to rule of Ravana's wife Mandodari, with Kalyug, and similar to rule of Ravana's wife Mandodari. Rule of Ravana's wife Mandodari. Next point, political symbolism was present. Political symbolism was present. As Mundas revolted on Christmas of 1899, political symbolism was there as Mundas revolted on Christmas of 1899. Mundas revolted on Christmas of 1899. They could have chosen some other date also. Why they are choosing 25th of December only? The reason is they want to give a message that we are against your Christian missionary activities. Right? Right? Next heading, write down. Rampa rebellion. See, here they are attacking the temples also. Why? Because temples, zamidars, Indian zamidars or Hindu zamidars, Hindu moneylenders, they will be worshipping in the temples. So therefore here they are attacking outsiders, places of worship also. Right? So that is it. Next heading, write down. Rampa rebellion. RAMPA, Rampa rebellion. RAMPA 1879, Rampa rebellion / Fituri. Rampa rebellion / Fituri. FITURI. Rampa rebellion / Fituri. FITURI. 1879. 1879. 1879. 1879. In Rama Hills of Andhra Pradesh. In Rama Hills of Andhra Pradesh. In Rama Hills of Andhra Pradesh. Reason is equal to commercial exploitation of forests. Reason is equal to commercial exploitation of forests plus road construction that led to loss of lands. Road construction that led to loss of lands. plus loss of lands to merchants, money lenders. Loss of lands to merchants, money lenders. Plus restriction on use of forest resources. Loss of lands to merchants, money lenders, plus restrictions on use of forest resources. Restriction on use of forest resources. We have discussed the forest laws, reserve forest, protected forests, restriction on use of forest resources. In the reserve forest you cannot enter, in the protected forest you can, there is a restriction on use of forest produce, you can use only it for personal consumption, not for sale, right? Plus prohibition on podu, prohibition on podu, PODU, podu mane shifting cultivation, prohibition on podu, 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 right? And after so much of tension, if you do not allow people to have a drink, तो रिवोल्ट नहीं करेगा तो और क्या करेगा? प्लस टैक्स ऑन टोडी, TODDY, टैक्स ऑन टोडी, TODDY, टेडी बियर वाले ई को हटा दो, ओ लगा दो, टैक्स ऑन टोडी / लोकल ड्रिंक, टैक्स ऑन टोडी / लोकल ड्रिंक. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, फितूरी वॉज लेड बाय, तो देखिए फितूरी, हूल, उलुगुलन, दे आर मीन द सेम थिंग, दैट इज रिबेलियन. फितूरी वॉज लेड बाय मुत्तादार्स, MUTTADARS. Fituri was led by Muttadars, 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 who were local estate holders, who were local estate holders, who were local estate holders / landowners, local estate holders. In brackets डाला गया कि similar to talukdars, similar to talukdars, local estate holders. Next point, crushed by 1880, crushed by 1880, and in 1920-22, in 1920-22, NCM, non-cooperation movement, 1920-22 NCM, tribals did violation of forest laws, tribal did violation of forest laws. Tribals did violation of forest laws. And then Alluri, ALLURI, and then Alluri Sitarama, Alluri Sitarama Raju, ALLURI, Alluri Sitarama Raju, who had led Gandhian struggle, and then Alluri Sitarama Raju, who had led Gandhian struggle, revolted violently, as he believed that India can be liberated, only by force. As he believed that India can be liberated only by force. Therefore now continued past tradition of Fituri. Therefore now continued past tradition of Fituri. Full stop. He was executed in 1924. He was executed in 1924. He was executed in 1924. Next heading, write down early INM. Next heading, write down early INM. Early INM. / post 1857. Post 1857 peasant movements / revolt. Post 1857 peasant movements / revolt. Post 1857 peasant movements / revolt. So why we are putting a alternate heading? We could have simply written post 1857 peasant revolts or movements, but we are also starting the early Indian national movement, because the Indian national movement, it is based on modern politics, and in the modern politics it is not the use of violence, it is use of some other methods, right? It is the use of modern political methods, for example protests, writing articles, right, fighting court cases, right, etc., etc. And therefore this began with post 1857 peasant movements. Right. So some new features are coming in the peasant revolts which took place after 1857. The first new feature is that now for the first time, till now what we have seen, you are peasants and you have a grievance and you are rising against the Britishers. You are tribals, you have grievance, you are rising against the Britishers. Now we will see that you are peasants, but there is this new person, a person from the educated middle class, and he starts raising voice in your favor. He starts writing articles in your favor. He starts campaigning with the British that the Britishers, they should do something positive for you, the peasants. His interests are not involved. Peasant interests are different. Middle class interests are different. Middle class is interested in jobs, government jobs, legal practice, medical practice, engineer banna, professor banna, middle class. Your interests are linked with land revenue, rents, right? So we have different economic interests. You are a different class, I am a different class. But see, is it not a proof of fraternity that a person from middle class is now making efforts and giving leadership to the grievances of the peasants? And this is how the middle class is now taking up the leadership of the Indians, leadership of the masses. And this thing we are witnessing for the first time. And therefore we call it early Indian national movement. That is beginning of this national politics. Right? This is what is happening. Second component that we see is that kahin na kahin the peasants have also learned their lesson. They have seen that we have repeatedly revolted against the British pre 1857. Then we revolted in 1857 revolt also. We were all crushed. Therefore, the method of violence is not leading to success. Tribals, they don't follow that path. Munda Ulugulan, Rampa rebellion, they are still taking place. Right? But the plains people, they come to understand that we have to follow some other method apart from violence. So this time they show much greater awareness of the British system. For example, instead of directly resorting to violence, first they are fighting a court case. They are gathering money and they are hiring a lawyer. And if there is any British law which gives some positive relief to the peasant, then they are fighting for their rights in the courts. Right? They are forming some modern organizations like Pabna Agrarian Leagues, League of Nations before United Nations, right? Indian Premier League, it simply means organization. So in 1873 they are forming. Pabna is name of a district in Bengal. Agrarian means peasants. Leagues means organization, and they are fighting court cases by pooling money. ये feature हम पहली बार देख रहे हैं. This is modern. This is called modern. That you, instead of resorting directly to violence, you adopt some other political methods. Right. So इस वजह से this is how beginning of the Indian national movement is taking place. So please write down. New features emerged. New features emerged in peasant movements post 1857. New features emerged in peasant movements post 1857. First subpoint. New features emerged in peasant movements post 1857. First subpoint. Peasants showed greater awareness. Peasants showed greater awareness of British laws. Peasants showed greater awareness of British laws and institutions. Peasants showed greater awareness of British laws and institutions. And organized themselves. Politically. Second point. Now middle class began taking up leadership of peasants. Now middle class began taking up leadership of peasants. Therefore, beginning of early INM. Therefore, beginning of early INM. Therefore, beginning of early INM. Next heading right now, Indigo Revolt. Indigo Revolt. 1859-63. Indigo Revolt 1859-63 in Bengal. Indigo Revolt 1859-63 in Bengal. 1859-63 in Bengal. Write down background is equal to BG. Background is equal to in 1788 EIC began indigo plantations. EIC began indigo plantations by giving loans to 10 European planters. By giving loans to 10 European planters in Bengal. In Bengal. ब्रैकेट्स डाल आगे वेस्ट इंडीज मॉडल, मतलब वेस्ट इंडीज also had indigo cultivation, so it is online of West Indies. It is online of West Indies. West Indies is in Central America. In brackets डाला गया West Indies also had indigo plantations. So on the lines of West Indies they are starting, because the climate is similar, right? So therefore they are starting indigo plantation, right? Second point, European planters leased lands. European planters leased, L-E-A-S-E-D, leased lands from zamindars. In brackets डाला आगे who were forced by EIC. So this is 1788, just 5 साल बाद परमानेंट सेटलमेंट में आ जाने वाला है, and even before मिल्कियत तो था ही, right? So who were forced by EIC, plus what do you mean by lease? Lease means long term rent. So on long term you have taken the property on rent, right? So long term rent. So lease will be of, like rental agreement it is for 11 months, lease can be for 99 years, for example, this kind of scenario. Abhi in Delhi there was a cinema hall which was very very famous. There was this Chanakya cinema hall, right? So uska lease khatam hua 99 years ka. After that cinema hall was demolished, right? And then something else has come up on that particular place, right? It used to be very famous cinema. So long term lease, long term rent, right? Next point, indigo cultivation systems. Indigo cultivation systems. First write down Nij cultivation. Nij cultivation system. या फिर simply Nij cultivation in brackets Bengal. Nij cultivation in brackets Bengal. In Hindi there is a word called Niji. Niji means private, right? So bracket में स्टार लगा के आप लिख सकते हैं Nij माने private, right? That you are going to do something, so you know it's all private effort, totally private effort. So in the Nij cultivation system what happened that क्या हो गया सब ठीक है? तो ऐसे ऐसे छाती पकड़ के ऐसे ऐसे क्या कर रहा हूँ, डराया मत करो यार ऐसे, ठीक? Niche cultivation system, it basically meant that the indigo planter will buy a land, right, or rent a land. That's it, right? And after that, he will make niche efforts or Niji efforts or private efforts to get laborers who will do indigo cultivation, to get bullocks, to get seed drills, to get everything. So Niji cultivation, you have a empty piece of land, and after that, you take all the burden of bringing the people to this particular piece of land and do cultivation. Now this is very tedious. So therefore they went on to something called Ryoti system. In the Ryoti system what they did, they lease, instead of buying the lands, they lease the lands from the zamindars on which the Ryots are already cultivating something. That means the cultivators are already present, the bullocks are already present, the carts are already present, right? Everything is present. Just that they have to ask these very same ryots that instead of cultivating whatever wheat and rice that you're cultivating, instead of cultivating it all of your land, in 1/4 of your land you cultivate indigo. For that I am going to give you loan also. With that loan you can buy seed drills, drilling machine, seed drills, so deep करना होता था, plus indigo seeds, etc, etc, and this is how everything is set. बना बनाया सब चीज मिल गया, right? So imagine niche cultivation, imagine a empty piece of land. Ryoti system, imagine a land which has peasants who are doing cultivation, गाय हैं, भैंस हैं, right? All of these things are there, bullocks are there, and carts are there, everything is present. आपको बस इतना बोलना है second वाले केस में that on 1/4 of your land you cultivate indigo. First वाले में you have to arrange everything, right? So it is like, it is like one option is you buy a unfurnished flat or you take a unfurnished flat on rent. दूसरा है furnished flat ले लो रेंट पे, कुछ नहीं करना वहां जाके बस यूपीएससी का सिलेबस टांग देना, चेयर पे बैठ जाना, कंप्यूटर लगाना, काम चालू, राइट? सो दैट इज निज, फर्स्ट इज निज एंड सेकंड इज ryoti, राइट? सो दैट इज व्हाट इज देयर. सो राइट डाउन dash planters bought or hired land, niche cultivation dash planters bought or hired land and himself hired labor. Planters bought or hired HIRED land and himself hired labor for cultivating indigo. भाई सीधी सी बात है, एक ऑप्शन है दैट यू हैव टू टेक अ हाउस, राइट? सो देयरफॉर यू टेक अ अनफर्निश्ड हाउस. उसमें फ्रिज भी नहीं है, सोफा भी नहीं है, बेड भी नहीं है, कुछ भी नहीं है, आरओ भी नहीं लगा हुआ. अब तुम्हें सारी अरेंजमेंट खुद करनी है. दैट इज निजी, दैट इज निज कल्टिवेशन. ठीक है. सेकेंड ऑप्शन है आप फुल्ली फर्निश्ड फ्लैट ले लो, सब मिलेगा आपको, स्टडी टेबल भी है, जो पिछले वाला यूपीएससी पास करके गया उसके नोट्स भी चिपके हुए हैं अभी तक. ठीक, तो एवरीथिंग इट इज प्रेजेंट. वो र्योति सिस्टम है जिसको मैंने अभी डिक्टेट नहीं किया. ठीक है, तो इसमें ये लिखा हमने, प्लांटर्स दे परचेज्ड लैंड और हायर लैंड एंड हिमसेल्फ हायर्ड लेबर फॉर कल्टिवेटिंग इंडिगो, राइट? फुल स्टॉप. नेगेटिव इज इक्वल टू had to buy large tracts of lands, had to buy large lands, तो पैसा ज्यादा लगेगा. had to buy large lands plus mobilizing माने इकट्ठा करना, mobilizing labor, bullocks, mobilizing labor, bullocks and pluffs माने एग्रीकल्चरल मशीनरी, है ना? प्लफ्स आपने देखा होगा. प्लफ, अ चैलेंज, PLOUGHS, प्लफ्स, अ चैलेंज, चैलेंज है, इतना सब अरेंज करना है, इट इज अ चैलेंज, राइट? बुलक्स माने की आपके कैटल, है ना? नेक्स्ट राइट डाउन र्योति सिस्टम. सो नाउ दे केम आउट विद दिस लीज मॉडल कि लॉन्ग टर्म पे लीज करते हैं इंस्टेड ऑफ बाइंग ह्यूज लैंड, वो तो एक्स्ट्रा कॉस्ट हो जाएगा. र्योति सिस्टम इन ब्रैकेट्स बंगाल, र्योति सिस्टम इन ब्रैकेट्स बंगाल डैश, र्योति सिस्टम ब्रैकेट्स बंगाल डैश, leased, LEASED, leased large lands. So obviously buying a land is more expensive, leasing land is relatively less expensive. So leased large lands from zamindars. Second point, planters signed contracts with tenant ryots, whereby planters signed contracts with tenant ryots, whereby Ryoth must grow indigo, whereby Ryoth must grow indigo on at least, whereby Ryoth must grow indigo on at least 25% of occupied land. Ryoth must grow indigo on at least 25% of occupied land. 25% of occupied land. And planters gave advances slash loans. And planters gave advances slash loans on low interest rates. Planters gave advances slash loans on low interest rates. On low interest rates to Ryoth. And gave indigo seeds and seed drills. And gave indigo seeds and seed drills. Indigo seeds and seed drills. ये बात हमने कॉन्ट्रैक्ट फार्मिंग में पहले हम कर चुके हैं, कल ही करिए, राइट. थर्ड सिस्टम, तिनकथिया सिस्टम. तिनकथिया सिस्टम ये कहां पे है? इन बिहार. तिनकथिया सिस्टम बिहार. तिनकथिया सिस्टम बिहार. सेम एज र्योती सिस्टम. सेम एज र्योती सिस्टम. Same as Jyoti system, but here forced to grow indigo, on 15% slash 3/20th of occupied land. But here forced to grow indigo on 15% or 3/20th of occupied land. 15% और 3/20th ऑफ ऑक्यूपाइड लैंड. तो बस परसेंटेज का डिफरेंस है. वहां पे 1/4 है दैट यू मस्ट कल्टिवेट इंडिगो ऑन 25% ऑफ द लैंड दैट यू आर ऑक्यूपाइंग. यहां पे 15% है. तिनकथिया 3, राइट. सो वो एरिया के बेस पे 3/20th ऑफ योर लैंड, राइट. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट राइट ऑन. Pre-1857 revolts against indigo planters is equal to. Pre-1857 revolts against indigo planters is equal to. Pre-1857 revolts against indigo planters is equal to. तो अगर आप पेज पलटेंगे आपको दिखेगा क्या क्या. तीतुमीर in 24 Parganas. Pre-1857 revolts against indigo planters is equal to. Titumir in 24 Parganas. TITUMIR. Titumir in 24 Parganas 1831 and Titumir in 24 Parganas. 24 Parganas, 23 Parganas, 24 Parganas, मतलब basically it is a area. 24 Parganas, right? मतलब unit of area, मतलब 24 units of some area. तो district आप ऐसा समझ सकते हैं. 24 Parganas 1831 and Faraisi revolt 1830s and Faraisi revolt 1830s and Faraisi revolt 1830s under Dudumiya in East Bengal. Under Dudumiya, Dudumiya in East Bengal. ठीक. तो here what we are trying to say, we are trying to say that this revolt, indigo revolt, was a big revolt, but इससे पहले भी ये इशू रह चुका है, right? Next point, fertility of soil destroyed by indigo cultivation. Fertility of soil destroyed by indigo cultivation. अब देखिए एक्सप्लॉइटेशन तो बहुत टाइम से हो रहा है, तो अब क्या रीजन है? व्हाट इज द इमीडिएट रीजन? सो इमीडिएट रीजन वाज फॉल इन द इंटरनेशनल प्राइसेस ऑफ इंडिगो. Fall in the international prices of India. Like there was a 2008 crisis in the stock markets, right? So similarly, there was this, like Great Depression 1929, it began with a stock market crash. So similarly in Britain, there was a stock market crash. And many of the times it happens because all of us, if the financial markets, they are very, very popular. Since all of us have invested our savings into the stock market, if the stock market crashes, then we have lost our money. So therefore, we postpone our buying plans. Demand comes down. We stop spending money. Why? नुकसान हो गया ना stock market में. अब कहां से खरीदोगे नई गाड़ी? This kind of scenario. So therefore, the demand of everything came down, including of indigo. Indigo was a color, natural dye, which is used for coloring the textiles. Right? So therefore, demand is coming down. If demand comes down, prices they come down. Prices come down, therefore the indigo planters, they are earning less. And because indigo planters are earning less, therefore any which way they were not giving a remunerative price. बहुत कम पैसा देते थे रियात को. Now they start giving even lesser money to Riyadh. Right? So write down. Revolt began due to fall in international prices of indigo. Revolt began due to fall in international prices of indigo. International prices of indigo. And forced cultivation and perpetual माने जो खत्म ही नहीं होता, perpetual indebtedness to planter. Perpetual indebtedness to planter. So this in the last class also we discussed that how he was forced to cultivate indigo. Either you cultivate indigo, otherwise get out. Right? Plus, since I am not giving you a remunerative price, you are not able to pay back the loan which I gave you. And therefore, what is the solution? Fine, I'll tolerate you to cultivate this particular piece of land. Just take further loan and continue the indigo cultivation. Right? So therefore, this is perpetual indebtedness. You are in a debt trap and you are forced to cultivate indigo. And now there is fall in international prices also. So आपको और कम पैसा मिल रहा है. You are getting even lesser money. Right? Plus, write down. Plus trigger was sympathetic LG of Bengal. Sympathetic LG of Bengal. Sympathetic LG of Bengal. LG माने Lieutenant Governor of Bengal, who asked DCs, district collectors, who asked DCs to take side of oppressed ryots. Who asked DCs to take side of oppressed ryots. Who asked DCs to take side of oppressed ryots. Right, Mr. Alagal click. There can be good British men. There can be good British men plus belief in free market economy. Belief in free market economy and indigo is equal to forced. Indigo is equal to forced cultivation. Indigo is equal to forced cultivation. So see, they can be good British men, right, who know that the ryots are being oppressed, so therefore they can give such an order to the district collectors that, nahin, if there is any dispute between the European planter and the ryots, then you should take side of the ryot, right, because your officials are on the ground, right. Second point is, he believed in free market economy. And in free market economy, there cannot be any coercion. Everyone should be free to do anything. How can anyone force anyone to do anything in free market economy? Ryots, they should be free to not cultivate indigo. कैसे force किया जा रहा है? Where goes capitalism? We are a capitalist country, Britain, and we believe in free market economy since 1776. An inquiry into nature and causes of wealth of nations by Adam Smith. We believe in free market economy. Right? So, in 1813, we have also ended the EIC monopoly over trade with India. So, how you can force anyone to do anything, right? So therefore this is wrong. And I am asking my district collectors that you should take side of the Ryot if there is any dispute. Now what does Ryot think? Ryot tells the indigo planter that now your papa is on my side. Now your papa is on my side. So therefore the confidence will increase that the top person in Bengal, he is on my side. Right? So therefore they now get the confidence ki beta ab tu aa. Right? So write down next, action is equal to ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा के लिखिए, नोटिस नॉन कॉपरेशन in brackets NC, star NC, notice non-cooperation before MG. MG came in 1920, है ना, मतलब majorly 1920 के बाद. So look at the non-cooperation before MG, right? So therefore you see, UPSC can ask a question that the methods of non-cooperation, civil disobedience, they existed even before Mahatma Gandhi. Elaborate. Or UPSC has asked a question that elaborate upon the pre-INC Indian National Movement. So therefore, in the pre-INC Indian National Movement, you can mention some of the pre-INC organizations which we'll discuss. You can also discuss some of the methods which were deployed for this Indian National Movement, and it included non-cooperation. Non-cooperation, we have all seen non-cooperation in our homes, in our childhood. Haven't our mothers stopped talking to our fathers at some point of time? And our father is like, chalo wo shaadi mein jana hai, let us go to that marriage. Mom is saying, main nahi ja rahi, I'm not going. Right? That is non-cooperation. Right? That is non-cooperation. Right? So therefore, or mummy not talking to papa, non-cooperation. Take? Right? This kind of scenario. Saveri chai nahi bana ke di, non-cooperation. Right? That is non-cooperation. Right? There is something called civil disobedience. अब ये पता नहीं how many of you have seen, right? मैंने तो खैर नहीं देखा, touch wood, ठीक है, but मैं वैसे क्यों बताऊं, anyways, but let's say mummy throwing some utensils on papa, right? Or mummy throwing a balan on papa. That is civil disobedience. That is breaking of the traditional norms, right? That is breaking of laws. When civilians they start disobeying the Britishers, when they start breaking a law, that is civil disobedience. Whereas non-cooperation is like you're not breaking a law, but you're not cooperating, right? So therefore, when we look at the actions, so you should notice that the idea of non-cooperation, it existed much before Mahatma Gandhi. It existed before the extremists who came before Mahatma Gandhi, and it existed even before the extremists in the form of this, right? So extremists लेके आए थे non-cooperation method, but उनसे भी पहले exist कर रहा है, right? So this kind of scenario. Now, how Ryot will do non-cooperation? For example, the indigo planter will come. An indigo planter will say, grow indigo. You will say, nahi ugata. I will not cultivate indigo. He will say, take loan. Nahi leta. He will say, then get out of the land. Nahi jata. Right? So therefore, this is non-cooperation. This is non-cooperation. Right? So write down, action is equal to first sub point. First sub point. Ryot's refused advances. Ryot's refused advances. Ryot's refused advances plus refused to cultivate indigo plus refused to cultivate indigo plus refused to cultivate indigo. फिर मम्मी क्या करती, बाइकआउट कर देती पापा का, ठीक है ना, डाइवोर्स नहीं, बाइकआउट. डाइवोर्स तो सिविल डिसोबीडियंस हो जाएगा, बाइकआउट कर देती है, ठीक है. प्लस डिड सोशल बॉयकॉट, हाँ जी, प्लस डिड सोशल बॉयकॉट, प्लस डिड सोशल बॉयकॉट ऑफ एजेंट्स ऑफ इंडिगो प्लांटर्स. सोशल बॉयकॉट ऑफ एजेंट्स ऑफ इंडिगो प्लांटर्स. Social boycott of agents of indigo planters. See, these people, they had agents. Agents meaning Indian people who are in their employment. So obviously, indigo planter is a big person, right? On the ground, it will be the Indian person who is a employee, and who will be coming and oppressing. So इनका social boycott कर दिया. What do you mean by social boycott? For example, जो barber will not cut your hair. ठीक? Your father, for example, is agent of indigo planter. ठीक है? तुम्हें लग रहा है तुम्हारी शादी का समय बीता जा रहा है, कोई तुम्हारी शादी नहीं करेगा. सोशल बॉयकॉट, ठीक है, कि इस घर में कोई अपनी लड़की नहीं देगा. ठीक है, सोशल बॉयकॉट, राइट. यू विल नॉट बी इनवाइटेड टू एनी मैरिज. ठीक, दिस इज सोशल बॉयकॉट. हुक्का पानी बंद कर देना, सोशल बॉयकॉट. राइट, जैसे तुम सामने आ जाते हो लोग मुड़ जाएंगे. Social boycott, right? So social boycott of the agents of the, so therefore this kind of scenario. Plus zamindars supported riots, plus zamindars supported riots. As they were as against domination of rural economy by indigo planter. As against domination of rural economy by indigo planter. In brackets स्टार लगा के domination of rural economy by indigo planter, ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा के loss of status for जमींदार, loss of status for जमींदार due to planter, loss of status for zamindar due to planter, brackets closed, loss of status to zamindar due to planter, brackets closed. So zamindars, see, this is why we are doing this indigo revolt in detail, because a first time many of the things are taking place, plus इसमें बड़े सारी नई चीजें हैं. Usually we see zamindar in a villain group, but now for the first time we are seeing zamindar, they are supporting the riot. And what is the reason for that? The reason for that is that zamindar was forced to lease land to the planter. This was earlier my land, right? पहले मैं, when I used to travel in this land, सलामों के ढेर लग जाते थे, right? I was the masiha. Now I have given this land on long-term lease to the planter. Now he has replaced me. He is the my बाप of the people. ठीक, people they know कि मेरे हाथ में कुछ नहीं है. I cannot do anything for them. तो मुझे जलन हो रही है. भाई पैसा, money is not everything. You want some status also, and there is loss of status if your lands are now leased out to the planter. You only have money and that's it. घर में बैठे हो क्या कर रहे हो, कुछ नहीं, कोई काम भी तो होना चाहिए, right? So therefore that kind of scenario, right? So that's why they are against the domination of the rural economy by the European planter. Earlier they used to dominate, now they have been replaced by the planter, right? So that is why. Riots नहीं, riots. See, the point is key. So student is asking that why the Britishers, they are supporting the riots, right? The point is that now in which year we are? 1859. So actually now the British British economy has totally industrialized, right? So therefore agrarian sector is in which way not very profitable for the British. They are more interested in buying raw materials from India and selling finished goods, factory made finished goods to India. Right. So find these European planters कब से 1788 से, one thing. Second component is that in the future Indian national movement we will also see there can be such British men like Ripon, R-I-P-O-N, 1880 to 1884, right, who are liberals, who do something very positive for the Indians, right? And there are such people like Lytton, L-Y-T-T-O-N, 1876-80, who are totally opposite of Ripon, who are very negative people. But you ask both of them that do you want the British rule to end? They will say no. They are both ultimately in favor of the national interest. But the point is that fine, you are the ruler, but in the smaller aspects of the rule, how do you want to behave? Right? So whether you want to maintain the British Empire, but while you are ruling, you want your rule to be a just rule. You are a good person, you want the right things to take place. You're not telling the European planters that I'll cancel your contracts. You're not telling the European planters कि निकलो यहाँ से. You're simply telling the European planters कि कुछ तो शर्म कर ले. At least behave, in the right manner. Do not oppress. हम ruler हैं, इसका अंदर ये थोड़ी है. So क्या कहा था उन्होंने? Evangelist ने और utilitarians ने और liberals ने. India has been conquered by acts of sins, and the East India Company has not done anything good. Right? So this was the charge. Acts of sin money, 1770 Great Bengal famine. So they are saying rule, but there's something called morality of imperialism. A white man's burden कहाँ गया तुम्हारी छाती का बोझ? What, in which way are you behaving with the riots? This is the way we should behave. So therefore this kind of people will also be there, who will be saying that there is morality of imperialism, how we are behaving, we should behave in the righteous manner, this manner, that manner. These people are liberals. Right? So therefore they can be a liberal, person who is the in charge. So therefore वो ये नहीं कह रहा, वो यूरोपियन प्लांटर्स का दाना पानी बंद नहीं कर रहा, वो बस इतना कह रहा है, डू नॉट ऑपरेस, राइट? सो दैट इज दैट. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, एक्शन में सेकेंड पॉइंट, यूज ऑफ ब्रिटिश कोर्ट्स डैश, यूज ऑफ ब्रिटिश कोर्ट्स डैश, use of British courts dash, COURTS dash. Planters went to courts, planters went to courts. उनका तो यही था, they always used to go to the court, that the court will send British policemen to enforce the contracts. Planters went to courts to enforce contracts of indigo cultivation. Planters went to courts to enforce contracts of indigo cultivation. To enforce contracts of indigo cultivation. Because in the first point, what Ryot has done, he is non-cooperating and he is saying that I will not cultivate indigo, I will not take advances. So planter कहता है मैं बताता हूं तेरे को, right? So he goes to the court and tells the judge that please enforce the contract. Now in which year are we? 1859. Rent Act 1859 in Bengal has already come. In the Rent Act of 1859, right? The Ryots, they have occupancy rights. ठीक, तो अभी नोटिस करना भी ये. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, नेक्स्ट पॉइंट आइटम, नाउ Ryots began no rent campaign. Now Ryots began no rent campaign. Now Ryots began no rent campaign. See, on this whole land they also have to give rent, na? They are tenants. जैसे they were paying rents to the zamindars, now they have to pay rents to the this thing. So therefore इस पूरे 1/4 पे तो इंडिगो कल्टिवेट हो रहा है, on the rest प्लस इन जनरल चारों पे ही they have to give rent also, right? So they are starting, अच्छा तू कोर्ट जाएगा, now we'll start no rent campaign, that is will not pay rent, right? And now the indigo planter is like, अच्छा you are a tenant and you will not pay rent, get out. Now the Ryot smiles and says, I have cultivated this land for more than 12 years, my friend, and now we are going to the court to enforce our occupancy rights. Right now? Now Ryots began no rent campaign and planters tried eviction. And planters tried eviction. And planters tried eviction. Eviction. Next point. Next subpoint. Now Ryots went to courts. Now Ryots went to courts. Now Ryots went to courts to enforce their occupancy rights. To enforce their occupancy rights. Ryots went to courts to enforce their occupancy rights under Rent Act 1859. Enforce their occupancy rights under Rent Act 1859. Rent Act 1859. Right? So see, this is the proof that the Ryots, they are acting in a more organized manner. They are much more politically aware. Right? They are showing more political awareness of the British laws. Now they know what the Rent Act says. पहले they were brute, directly violence use कर रहे हैं. Now they are acting with mind politically. Right? So more politically aware of British institutions and British laws. Right? So ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा के लिख लीजिए. Notice awareness of British laws. Brackets closed. Notice awareness of British laws, brackets closed. Notice awareness of British laws, brackets closed. Right? So peasants are aware. है ना? ऐसी बात हमने कभी भी प्री 1857 रिवोल्ट में नहीं देखी. प्री 1857 रिवोल्ट में तो डायरेक्टली हमने देखा कि they were oppressed, started violent revolt. But now they are using these courts, etc. Right? Next independent paragraph point. Role of educated middle class. Role of educated middle class and Christian missionaries. Role of educated middle class and Christian missionaries. Role of educated middle class and Christian missionaries. Right? तो यहां पे क्या हुआ, यहां पे एक व्यक्ति थे जिनका नाम है दीनबंधु मित्रा. तो इनके नाम में ही कुछ ऐसा है. दीन मीन्स द कॉमन मैन, द पुअर मैन. बंधु मीन्स भाई, मित्र फ्रेंड. ठीक. सो दीन बंधु मित्रा. राइट. ही रोट अ प्ले कॉल नील दर्पण और द ब्लू मिरर. ब्लू मिरर, लाइक यू टेल योर फ्रेंड, शीशा दिखा दूंगा, शीशा The blue mirror, that means which tells the reality of indigo cultivation. Right. So therefore this play was there, and this was a brilliant play which is written in Bengali, and this play was enacted in different parts of Bengal. Right. And peasants, ryots, they are watching this play. And when they watch this play, so therefore, for example, there is a series Bharat Ek Khoj. तो उसमें दिखा रखा है that ryots, they are watching this play, and after that tears are coming out of their eyes. कि तो मैं हूँ. This is how I am oppressed. This is how I am exploited. Right. So therefore, plus in that play, more elaborative things will be told. That see, this is how the European planter is cornering all the profits. So therefore, this very same ryot will be now more aware. कि अच्छा, ये तो पता था that they are exploiting me, and that's why we are doing all of these things. But इतना बड़ा system है. This is the whole thing which is there. Right. This is how they corner all the profits. This is how things are. Right. So therefore, they will become more aware about their own oppression. Right. So it will raise awareness. Right. Plus those who are not subjected to the indigo cultivation, those who are under the zamindars, they will also watch this play. Zamindars will also watch this play. Right. So everyone is becoming more and more aware about the oppression of the ryots by the indigo planters. Right. So therefore, this is the role that the educated middle class is playing. Then there will be a Bengali poet, Michael Madhusudan Datta. Right. So therefore, he was a Hindu, he got converted to Christianity. So therefore, the name Michael, on cycle. Michael Madhusudan Datta. Right. And he converted that play into English. And now that play went to Britain. There also it was enacted or something like this. So therefore, the British authorities, the British parliamentarians, they are also getting aware that something like this is taking place in an era of free market economy. Wealth of nations, Adam Smith. Right. This is how forceful economic activity is taking place. Where is the morality of imperialism? Right. So this kind of scenario it is there. Right. So it was converted into English by Michael Madhusudan Datta, and there was a Christian missionary, James Long. Right. He published it in English. In fact, James Long के ऊपर केस कर दिया इन्होंने इंडिको प्लांटर है, और 1000 रुपए का फाइन लग गया इनके ऊपर, है ना. तो दिस काइंड ऑफ सिनेरियो. सो राइट डाउन. So usually we see Christian missionaries in negative, but ये इंडिगो रिवोल्ट ऐसा है कि यहाँ पे outliers हैं. There is a British official, LG of Bengal, who is a positive person, right? There is a Christian missionary who is a positive person, right? So therefore, this kind of scenario. So write down. First sub point: Deenbandhu Mitra wrote play. Deenbandhu Mitra wrote play. Neel Darpan. Neel Darpan. Neel represents indigo, Darpan represents mirror. Neel Darpan or blue mirror. Neel Darpan or blue mirror. In 1860. In 1860. Blue mirror in 1860. That showed oppression. That showed oppression. That showed oppression of ryots. That showed oppression of ryots. Therefore, increased awareness about the issue. Therefore, increased awareness. Therefore, increased awareness. Therefore, increased awareness. Second sub point: Bengali poet. Bengali poet. Michael Madhusudan Datta. Bengali poet Michael Madhusudan Datta. Michael Madhusudan Datta. Michael Madhusudan Datta. Translated play to English. Translated play to English. Translated play to English. And Christian missionary James Long published it. Christian missionary James Long published it. Leading to awareness in England. Published it. Leading to awareness in England. Published it. Leading to awareness in England. ठीक. Next sub point. अब जो Indian press थी, right, that is Indian newspapers, right, they also started writing aggressive editorials in favor of the ryots and against the indigo planters. Right. So therefore, this kind of pressure, it is being created. So therefore, you see, there is a न्यू थिंग विच इज टेकिंग प्लेस, यूज ऑफ प्रेस किसके लिए? किसान के लिए. यूज ऑफ प्रेस अ मॉडर्न पॉलिटिकल टूल फॉर द बेनिफिट ऑफ पेजेंट. कौन कर रहा है यूज? मिडिल क्लास. देयरफॉर हु इज टेकिंग द लीडरशिप ऑफ रियॉट्स? मिडिल क्लास. So therefore Indian national movement was led by middle class. In fact, you guys belong to that class which has been the most revolutionary. Be it American Revolution, led by middle class. Be it the French Revolution, led by middle class. Indian national movement, led by middle class. Right? So Karl Marx also accepted that middle class is a revolutionary class. But Karl Marx only had one problem, that after the revolution, the middle class corners all the power and deprives the poor sections of the society. And therefore the poor sections of the society, they should now start their own revolution, and that will be done by the working class, right? So USSR etc. came. Anyways, so write down, Indian press began campaign by writing aggressive editorials. Indian press began campaign by writing aggressive editorials. By writing aggressive editorials. By writing aggressive editorials. Next point, British Indian Association 1851. British Indian Association. British Indian Association 1851. इसको फ्यूचर में BRIA कह देंगे. British Indian Association 1851. An organization of landlords. An organization of landlords. Landlords माने जमींदार. An organization of landlords supported riots. Supported riots. An organization of landlords supported riots. Result is equal to, next line, result is equal to Indigo Commission 1860. Result is equal to Indigo Commission 1860. Indigo Commission 1860. Result is equal to Indigo Commission 1860. क्या रिजल्ट दिया इसने? फर्स्ट सब पॉइंट. So basically this Indigo Commission 1860, it simply said that see, forced cultivation cannot take place, but we are going to respect the law. Since you Roths have signed a contract, so therefore fulfill the contract this season, but in future you'll be free to not sign a contract. And therefore by 1863 these contracts they got over, and after 1863 all the indigo cultivation shifted from Bengal to Bihar, and there it took form of Tinkhatiya system, and there Mahatma Gandhi with his Champaran Satyagraha of 1916 will end the Tinkhatiya system, or nearly end the Tinkhatiya system in Bihar. So indigo issue comes in the Indian national movement twice, or technically thrice. Pre 1857 revolts, राइट. एग्जाम्पल फराइजी मूवमेंट, उसमें एक एंगल था, टीटू मीर वाला एक और था, प्लस इंडिगो रिवोल्ट पोस्ट 1857, प्लस गांधीयन स्ट्रगल 1916, राइट. सो दैट इज इट. सो राइट डाउन, asked riots to fulfill present contracts, but free to not sign contracts in future. Asked riots to fulfill present contracts, but free to not sign contracts in future. Therefore, by 1863, indigo cultivation shifted. From Bengal to Bihar. Indigo cultivation shifted from Bengal to Bihar in form of Tinkhatiya system. ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा के MG's चंपारण सत्याग्रह, MG's चंपारण सत्याग्रह 1916, ब्रैकेट्स क्लोज. MG's चंपारण सत्याग्रह 1916, ब्रैकेट्स क्लोज. तो वहां पे इस इशू को दोबारा देखा जाएगा. Next point. Next heading. Pabna Agrarian Leagues. Pabna Agrarian Leagues. 1873. Pabna Agrarian Leagues, 1873. The only point of interest here is that A, what was the grievance? Rent Act of 1859 was there, and the zamindars, they were not respecting the occupancy rights. Even if you have cultivated a particular piece of land for more than 20 years, 12 years, still you are being evicted from the land. So zamindars, they are not respecting the law. Or what the zamindars are doing, before completion of continuous cultivation of 12 years, they are removing you from the land. So you do not have occupancy rights. So here the fight is not with a Firangi, and that changes so many things. Here the fight is there between Indian Ryot versus Indian Zamindar. Right? And there you see, now cracks will start developing in the middle class. Because the middle class was the sons of zamindars. The middle class, they are a product of landed class. Right? You are a big zamindar. Right? You had 15 sons. Right? So therefore, the land got divided into so many parts. Right? So now the land holdings, they are not remunerative enough. So therefore, you tell your students, पढ़ ले, कुछ कर लेगा, become a liar, become a doctor, become a press person, something. Right? So you see, this middle class was basically, इनके जो forefathers थे, वो थे बापू जमींदार. See, that means the parents or the grandparents, they are coming from landed class. Right? Raja Ram Mohan Roy came from landed class, family of zamindars. Rabindranath Tagore came from family of zamindars. Right? ये सारे सारे लोग from the family of zamindars. These middle class is the next generation. And now what happens? Now different thing will be there. Now the Indian press will get divided. Some of the Indian newspapers, they will start taking pro-zamindar stand. They will even spread fake news against the peasants. That see the peasants, they are engaging in violence. Fake news. So that the police comes and cracks down upon the riots. But there will be some Indian press which will be saying, no, the zamindars, they are right. Right? So therefore cracks develop. तो आप एक चीज नोटिस करिए, when the opponent was Firangi, even the zamindar was with the Indians, Indian riots. Right? The whole middle class was united. और ये पैटर्न आप आने वाले पूरे टाइम में देखने वाले हो. That is, even Mahatma Gandhi will never give a call for no rent campaign. He will always give a call for no revenue campaign. Because revenue is paid by an Indian to the Firangi government. Whereas rent is paid by an Indian to an Indian zamindar. And Mahatma Gandhi did not want disunity among the Indians. Right? But on the other hand, it can be a criticism of Mahatma Gandhi that he did not take care of the poorest of the poor. He never gave a call for action against the zamindars until the Quit India movement of 1942. Before 1942, Indian National Congress or Mahatma Gandhi never took up the issues of the Indian rent-payer ryot. Property owner से तो गरीबी होगा, तो landless ryot के लिए नहीं काम किया. This pattern you will notice. Moderates, for example, they will also take pro-zamindar stand. They will not take up anti-zamindar stand. And this is a big negative to begin with. Right? So write down. Pabna Agrarian Leagues, 1873. Pabna is a district in Bengal. District in Bengal. Grievance is equal to high rents, illegal abovabs, high rents, illegal abovabs, high rents, comma, illegal abovabs, plus zamindars not respecting, occupancy rights, zamindars not respecting occupancy rights under Rent Act 1859. Zamindars not respecting occupancy rights under Rent Act 1859. Next, action is equal to peasants organized themselves into leagues. Peasants organized themselves into leagues plus pooled money to fight in courts. Plus pooled money, P-O-O-L-E-D, pooled money to fight in courts. Plus नया मियाँ, future generation of दुद्दू मियाँ, नया मियाँ replicated the movement. नया मियाँ replicated the movement in other districts. नया मियाँ replicated the movement in other districts. हिला दे पूरा district. In other district. Next point, result is equal to Bengal Tenancy Act. Result is equal to Bengal Tenancy Act 1885. Bengal Tenancy Act 1885. That gave more protection to tenants. That gave more protection to tenants. Regarding occupancy rights. That gave more protection to tenants regarding occupancy rights. क्या प्रोटेक्शन दिया था? अगर आपको याद हो, हम पहले इसको कर चुके हैं when we discuss the permanent settlement. Even if you have cultivated different pieces of land but within the same village but continuously for more than 12 years, still you are going to have occupancy right. Right? So therefore, ये हम पहले कर चुके हैं. Anyways, next point. Educated middle class got divided. Educated middle class got divided as it was not foreigners who were under attack, but Indian zamindars. As it was not foreigners who were under attack, but Indian zamindars. Bracket में स्टार लगा के middle class is equal to next gen of landed class. Brackets closed. Middle class is equal to next generation of landed class. एक बस लास्ट लिखेंगे. Deccan riots 1875. बहुत सिंपल है ये. Deccan riots 1875 महाराष्ट्र. Background is equal to 1861-65 US Civil War. 1861-65 US Civil War led to decrease in supply. Of raw cotton. That led to increase in cotton prices. Therefore, Indian Ryot, smiley. Indian Ryot, happy. But post 1865, prices decreased. Therefore, Ryot is equal to sad. US was a supplier of raw cotton. When civil war is taking place, so therefore agriculture is getting disrupted in US. Therefore, supply of cotton in the international markets, it is coming down. When supply goes down, relatively the demand is higher. When demand is high and supply is less, the prices increase. Therefore, Indian Ryots, they are happy that they are able to sell their cotton at a better price. But once the civil war ends, after that, US resumes supply of cotton. Prices they again normalize. And now the Indian youth, he is unhappy. Right? He comes under financial stress. Right? Next point write down. Grievance is equal to ऑपरेशन बाय मनी लेंडर्स. ये तो रियोतवारी एरिया है, तो ये तो हमें पता ही है क्या क्या है ना. ऑपरेशन बाय मनी लेंडर्स via high interest rates on loans, plus loss of lands due to indebtedness, plus high LR in Ryotwari, and loss of lands in government auction. Action is equal to, next point, action is equal to Pune Sarvajanik Sabha. Action is equal to Pune Sarvajanik Sabha 1870. Pune Sarvajanik Sabha 1870 of middle class. Pune Sarvajanik Sabha 1870. It is an organization of middle class. Collected 17,000 signatures. On power of attorneys to represent riots in front of British government. Therefore, government agreed that confiscation of lands on non-payment of LR would be last resort of government for recovering LR. Next point, however now अब ये लोग मनी लेंडर्स के पास गए कि यार देखो मजा आ गया, land revenue is high, we are not able to pay. The government has said that they will give us time and confiscation of our lands, that is auction of our lands. It will be the last resort. First maybe they will take away our cattle, maybe they will take away the produce, but जमीन नहीं लेंगे, वो कह रहे हैं नहीं लेंगे. ठीक है, तो मनी लेंडर प्लीज हेल्प मी भाई, है गिव मी लोन सो दैट आई कैन पे द लैंड रेवेन्यू, है जमीन बच जाएगा. मनी लेंडर इज लाइक बट आई हैव ऑलरेडी गिवन यू लोन, राइट, अगेंस्ट द कोलैटरल दैट इज योर लैंड. वो तो पैसा तूने वापस दिया नहीं, दैट मनी यू डिड नॉट गिव बैक एंड यू आर आस्किंग फॉर मोर लोन, आई विल नॉट गिव यू लोन. और द मनी लेंडर इज कनिंग, he says no, I'll not give you loan, and therefore ultimately the government will still auction your lands and then I'll buy your lands in the auction. And now they became very, very angry, and now the riots took place. And money lenders, they were targeted, but not their life. What was burnt was account books, debt bonds, right? So therefore this kind of scenario. Plus ultimately the government also acted how? The government brought a law which capped the interest rates so that the money lenders, they cannot charge very, very high, interest rates. So Deccan Agriculturists Act was brought. So write down, बस इतना लिखना है. However, money lenders now refused loans. However, money lenders now refused loans. Now refused loans. Therefore, peasants, therefore ryots, unable to pay LR. Therefore, ryots unable to pay LR. And now, violent revolt began in 1875. And now, violent revolt began in 1875. And now, violent revolt began in 1875. Full stop. Life of moneylender not attacked. Life of moneylender not attacked. Only debt bonds burnt. Only debt bonds. Debt bonds माने proofs which that I have taken a loan from you. Only debt bonds burnt. Debt bonds burnt. Therefore aware. Therefore ryots aware. Therefore ryots aware about tool of oppression. Therefore ryots aware about tool of oppression. Result is equal to Deccan Agriculturist. Deccan Agriculturist. Result is equal to Deccan Agriculturist Relief Act. Deccan Agriculturist Relief Act 1879. Deccan Agriculturist Relief Act 1879. Deccan Agriculturist Relief Act 1879 that regulated interest rates. 1879 that regulated interest rates on loans, that regulated interest rates on loans and gave protection against loss of lands and gave protection against loss of lands due to indebtedness. Gave protection against loss of lands due to indebtedness. Due to indebtedness. इसका मीनिंग क्या होगा गेव प्रोटेक्शन? माने कि अब सोचने वाली चीज है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल आई हैव टेकन अ लोन फ्रॉम यू एंड मैंने अपनी जमीन गिरवी रखी हुई है, ठीक है. आई हैव माई लैंड इज अ कोलैटरल टू यू एंड आई डिफॉल्ट. सो ऐसा नहीं दैट रैंडमली यू विल कम नाउ एंड द पुलिस विल आल्सो कम टू टेक अवे माई लैंड. कोर्ट में बात होगी, दी सम काइंड ऑफ प्रोटेक्शन विल बी देयर दैट ओके इफ एनी रियॉट डिफॉल्ट्स देन ही शुड बी गिवन टाइम, right? Or there can be some other ways. Restructuring of the loan should be there, right? Restructuring of the loan माने कि ठीक है अब पैसा तोड़ तोड़ के दिया जाएगा, जो मंथली किस्त है वो बजाय के 100 रुपए होने के वो 50 रुपए दी जाएगी, बट लैंड आप ऐसे नहीं लोगे. मतलब यू कैन गिव प्रोटेक्शन टू दी पर्सन हु हैज डिफॉल्टेड ऑन द लोन थ्रू दीज मेजर्स, राइट? दिस काइंड ऑफ सिनेरियो. सो ऐसा मतलब कुछ कुछ उसके अंदर था. एंड प्लस रेगुलेशन भी किया जाता. पहले तो क्या करते थे, ब्याज को ही कैपिटल मान लेते थे लोग. अब इन्होंने वो, मतलब मैं आपको थोड़ी सी एक्स्ट्रा डिटेल बता रहा हूं. दीज पीपल व्हाट दे यूज्ड टू डू, फॉर एग्जांपल इफ यू हैव टेकन 100 रुपीज ऑफ लोन, राइट, इंटरेस्ट इज लेट्स से ये तो 25%, राइट. एट द एंड ऑफ द ईयर इट बिकम्स 125 रुपीज, राइट. अब ये फिर नाउ 125 रुपीज पे दोबारा 25% इंटरेस्ट, तो कंपाउंडिंग. सो ऐसा ये लेके आए दैट कंपाउंडिंग विल नॉट टेक प्लेस फॉर मोर देन 5 years, राइट. एक बार 5 साल तक कर लो कंपाउंडिंग, बट उसके बाद कंपाउंडिंग नहीं होगी, राइट. वरना तो इन्फिनिटी चला जाएगा. सो देयरफॉर दीज काइंड ऑफ रेगुलेशन ऑफ इंटरेस्ट रेट्स वर ब्रॉट, राइट. ऐसे ऐसे करके कुछ कुछ चीजें इन्होंने करी थी. वो एक्स्ट्रा डिटेल से उतना डिटेल में जाने की जरूरत नहीं है. सिंपल एज अ लेमैन स्टूडेंट वर्बली हमने समझ लिया दैट हाउ दे कुड हैव रेगुलेटेड द इंटरेस्ट रेट्स, और एग्जाम के लिए हमने सिंपली लिख लिया दैट इट रेगुलेटेड द इंटरेस्ट रेट्स, राइट. टॉपिक फॉर द नेक्स्ट क्लास इज गोइंग टू बी प्री आईएनसी. इसको लिख लो टॉपिक को, pre-INC organizations. Pre-INC organizations. Pre-INC organizations. Pre-INC organizations. Slash early INM. Slash early INM. So therefore, as part of the early INM, now we are going to begin with सम ऑफ द रीजंस एटसेट्रा कि क्यों अर्ली आईएनएम हुआ एटसेट्रा, ये सारी चीजें हम देखेंगे. सो मीट इन द नेक्स्ट क्लास. गॉड ब्लेस यू. टेक केयर. बाय. Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas. Do become Santa Claus and do send me your photos in the mail. तू सेंटा बन के आया? नहीं, जैसे पूना सार्वजनिक सभा 1870, ऐसी आपकी इंडियन एसोसिएशन 1876 इन बंगाल, रीजनल एसोसिएशंस, आईएनसी ऑल इंडिया एसोसिएशन थी, उससे पहले रीजनल एसोसिएशन थी, तो उनके बारे में